All right, trust me. You and I are about to see a goddess so stunning, she made our poor hero weep from the sheer weight of love she brings. But she is fuming, friends. She is glaring at her husband, a 5'1" bald, bearded blacksmith named Master 𝑫𝒆𝒊𝒗𝒆𝒓𝒚, who she is berating for drinking and for failing to bring the rare items she had demanded from him earlier. Then she smiles once at Arthur, and his courage melts instantly. The Queen of Beauty asks our hero for a tiny favor. Fetch some star-forged steel for your lady, good boy. If she looked at me like that, I would honestly lose my mind and pass out. With that much divine love on the line, there is no way to say no. He dons his shadow helm and rides his mount toward another rift. Now, pay attention here. How does a common man become a messenger for the legendary gods themselves? See, Arthur was just your average hard-working but dirt-poor courier in the capital city. His routine was climbing 27 flights of stairs because the lift was broken, only to get screamed at by some ungrateful noble for being late. He wanted to shout back, but he stayed silent. Then his master called, the customer lied, and said he ruined the food just to get a refund. What a total nightmare for our boy. Arthur tried to defend himself, but the boss would not hear his excuses. He was suspended from work to learn some discipline. The problem is, his rent was due, and while standing right before a rift portal, his device glowed with a strange system alert. A new quest appeared, unlike any contract he had ever seen in his entire life. He taps the screen out of curiosity. Light erupts, and when he wakes up, he is standing in the heavens. He panics, wondering if he is dreaming or if a deity finally chose him for glory. Nothing has happened yet, but he is crying tears of joy thinking his struggle is finally over. Then he sees a task on his screen, with a map to collect some divine elixir from a palace. With nothing to lose, he accepts. The moment he touches the screen, the golden gates ahead swing open. He flies his mount above the clouds past a massive citadel, feeling his nerves start to fray. You and I both know this is where the gods reside. He stops before a giant door to find the pickup. Nervous, he knocks, hoping a god will answer and grant him some legendary power to change his life. A blonde lady in white opens the door. She is clearly a goddess. Stuttering, he says he is here for the pickup. She steps closer, demanding to know why a mere mortal dare enter the high citadel. When she accuses him of trespassing, he shows his screen. He is here for the elixir. She sighs, blaming her brother, Sir Julian. She tells him to wait, while she retrieves something humans should never even touch with their hands. She returns with the bottle, warning that her brother will be furious if it is late for delivery. She gets right in his face, warning him not to drink even a single drop. He agrees, and she slams the heavy door right in his nose. Arthur is fuming all over again. What kind of madness is this? He thought he had escaped his old life, but now he is just a courier for the gods. Looking at the bottle, he seriously considers quitting. Then he realizes the person receiving this gift must be another powerful deity. Since he is already here, he decides to ask this god to grant him a miracle. This is his final mission. He drives through a wasteland of lava. An alert says he is close to a small shack amidst the magma. Exhausted from the heat, he arrives at the door and announces that the delivery has finally reached its destination. The door swings open. Arthur is drenched in sweat from the hellish fire burning deep inside. A master smith at his forge turns around, looking angry. Panicked, Arthur says he is just here to deliver a package. The dwarf walks over, realizing his sister sent this boy. Arthur cannot believe they are actually related. The smith sees he is not Julian. His aura flares up as he growls that the boy is uninvited. Arthur quickly explains that the goddess sent him. Seeing the full bottle, the smith admits he is actually quite impressed. The boy did not take a sip. He hands it over, proving he is no common thief. The smith laughs, calling him honest. One sip of that elixir would turn a man into a god, yet he was not tempted. Arthur is stunned. If he had just taken a drink, he would have gained the power of the heavens and become a deity. Now, he eagerly moves to open the bottle, thinking his life of service is finally over for good. He reaches for the prize, but the smith snatches it away and chugs a massive mouthful before Arthur can even blink. Then he tosses it aside, saying it tastes better than ever. And that is where we leave it. Arthur is crushed while the smith laughs. Brutal, right? You and I felt that. All right, you and I are about to see a delivery guy become a legend. Arthur Gray introduces himself to the master blacksmith. Before Arthur can say another word, the dwarf turns to leave, saying he feels refreshed and is going back to work. Arthur grabs his shoulder and tells him to wait. The blacksmith asks what he wants. Arthur says he hasn't been paid. Lord Vulcan asks if he means the delivery fee, says he should already have it, and walks off laughing loudly. Arthur checks the app when a flash blinds him. The screen now shows 1,000 points. He wakes up in bed, wondering if it was a dream. The moment he checked the app, lights surrounded him and sent him back home. But now a system screen is floating in front of him. He complains because he has no clue what these points are for. He had just met a god, for heaven's sake. What he really wanted was to become the strongest S-rank knight in the whole kingdom. Then the system sends a message saying points can be traded for items. He opens the shop, hoping they are actually useful. The shop sells items like golden apples for 1,000 points or mounts for 100,000. He gets annoyed because everything costs too much. He keeps scrolling, trying to find something that could actually help him survive a dangerous dungeon gate. Now pay attention, because this one tiny detail changes everything. Something finally catches his eye. At the bottom, 1 point is worth 10 gold sovereigns. If this is true, he just earned 10,000 gold with one job. He touches it. As soon as he taps the screen, a gold sovereign appears in front of him and drops right into his lap. He picks it up and it feels completely real. The system updates showing 999 points left. He can't believe it. He stares at the gold, then at the screen, and keeps pressing until money starts raining all over the room. The sly look on his face says everything. He throws the cash into the air, thrilled because this is exactly what he needed. Next thing we see, he is happily eating fine food and glowing with joy. He even tests the gold at a vault. It works perfectly. He nearly cries realizing he made 10,000 gold sovereigns from just a single delivery. When a woman at the shop asks if things are that bad, he says they're actually too good. He sits there laughing like a maniac. While thinking about what to do with his riches, he hears people talking about a new recruit for the knights. The news says a top guild is preparing for the Abyss Gate, the deadliest dungeon in the realm. I know what you're thinking. That's the same grumpy dwarf we just met, right? Arthur realizes his client is Lord Vulcan, a legendary god. He leaves the tavern full and satisfied when his phone starts ringing with a new notification. He already had a feeling this would happen, so he kept his scooter ready. The screen glows with a new delivery request. And just like before, he gets teleported away. When he opens his eyes in the divine realm, he's standing in a huge garden. As he wonders where the pickup spot is, someone calls his name. A beautiful girl appears and introduces herself as Lady Gaia. Arthur greets her, and she says she heard about him from her nephew. He asks who that is, and she says Vulcan. The poor guy thinks someone is messing with him. None of the people in that family look related at all. Smiling, she says he clearly hasn't tasted the nectar, then asks if she can trust him. He says yes right away. For him, this is just easy money. He starts imagining some legendary item again. Gaia gathers energy and creates a lunch box. He is confused, but she asks him to deliver it to her daughter. Arthur didn't expect something this simple and easy. He agrees to help, but then she shivers and the entire garden turns to rot in a single second. He looks around in shock, but she is already walking away. He just hopes this delivery won't cause trouble or be a divine bomb. Still, he puts it on his scooter, figuring a goddess wouldn't send something dangerous to her own daughter. Then he checks the destination. But before he can focus, a flash sends him back home, leaving him totally confused. The app shows that the delivery really is here in the kingdom. He remembers Gaia said gods can't leave their palaces without a reason and figures this is why. He'll surely meet her daughter soon. He has never been this excited for a delivery, already wondering how many points he will get this time. When he arrives, he takes off his helmet and thinks it is a joke. The app wants him to enter the Abyss Gate. He tells himself that can't be right. The goddess's daughter must be waiting outside the dungeon. But then the route updates, and the map clearly points deep inside the abyss. He yells that there is no way. But under the 1-hour limit, it says canceling the delivery will bring divine punishment. A timer appears, 42 minutes left, or he turns into a pig. He stares in misery at his terrible luck. So what do you and I think? Is he going in, or is it pork for dinner? Guards are everywhere. Arthur's mind starts racing toward thoughts of a delicious hot roast dinner. Suddenly, his magic interface flickers, suggesting he check the item shop. But with 0 credits, he's basically broke. Trust me, you and I are about to watch this desperate courier make a very risky purchase. He finds a shadow helm that hides him for 30 minutes. He grumbles that this limited-time sale is just a scam to drain his last credits. Since the alternative is literally turning into a pig, he buys it. The helmet manifests out of thin air, but it rolls away the moment he reaches for it. What a joke. After finally equipping it, he has exactly 38 minutes to finish this delivery. He slips right past the knights. They don't see a thing, just shivering and blaming the sudden cold breeze. Trembling, he approaches the Dread Vaults. It's the most cursed place on earth, but he has no other choice. Arthur, a 20-year-old courier with 0 magic, no knightly license, and no special powers at all, somehow keeps pushing forward. He actually becomes the first mortal to reach the heart of the abyss. Glancing around, he finds the place empty. Now pay attention, because this is where the quiet ends. He starts shouting that he has a delivery. Out of the shadows, a massive 3-headed hound locks eyes with him. The poor guy freezes, staring at the beast. The beast stalks closer, drooling and ready to snap. Powerless, he realizes being a pig wouldn't have been so bad. The monster gets right in his face, and he's sure it's curtains. He spent all his credits on a helmet just to become dog food. Wait, the helmet has 2 charges. As the hound lunges, he triggers the veil again, but the jaws are already closing. It looks like game over, until a voice commands the beast not to eat such filthy garbage. The hound freezes. Arthur opens his eyes to find he's still alive, turning to see a small, mysterious young girl. He can't believe a child is living in the abyss. She calmly pets the monster, saying the big dog doesn't bite. He notices she looks exactly like Lady 𝑩𝒆𝒊𝒗𝒆𝒚. Keeping his cool, he politely mentions he has a delivery to make. You and I both know who's coming next. A pale man appears, asking where the young Lady Alara has gone. Then his eyes land on Arthur. He demands to know how a mere mortal dared enter the sovereign's domain. Terrified, Arthur tries to explain. Duke Malachor just scoffs, noting that no mortal has reached these depths in ages, not since the ancient heroes of legend. Dark energy coils around Arthur's throat. He can't breathe, let alone get a single word out. Malachor claims the heroes of old came for love, but this boy came to thieve. He grabs the helmet and realizes it's a cheap imitation. Lady Alara tells him to hear the boy out first. Malachor lets go, and Arthur collapses to the floor, coughing. The Duke demands to know his purpose. Gasping for air, Arthur managed to choke out that he's just there for a delivery. Is it for the sovereign? No, it was sent by the Duke's wife for their daughter. The 2 royals share a look of pure confusion. The Duke asks why a mortal came instead of the royal messenger. Shaking, Arthur says he's just following his orders. Lady Alara recognizes the parcel immediately. Malachor frowns, asking if he's certain his wife was the sender. He nods, saying she wanted it delivered to her daughter. Alara explains it actually came from her mother-in-law. She beams, happy the food is still hot. Seeing this, Arthur wonders if these 2 are actually a married couple. He points at the Duke and blurts out that he's way too old for her. He instantly slaps a hand over his mouth, realizing his massive mistake. Malachor heard everything. He tells the boy to repeat that insult to the face of the sovereign. Arthur starts stammering out a frantic apology. Then, the The Duke just stares and suddenly bursts into a fit of laughter. Arthur is speechless. The Duke says he never imagined a mortal would be brave enough to insult him to his face. He asks for the boy's name. Arthur answers while shaking, and the Duke decides to forgive him just this once. But if he slips up again, the Duke raises a hand, and the crushing dark aura makes the warning very clear. The Duke says the payment is sent. Suddenly, the magic window flashes, and he receives 10,000 credits plus a 5,000 credit bonus from the Duke himself. He even hands the helmet back, telling the boy he can keep the little toy for himself. Arthur beams with a massive smile. Elsewhere, the scene shifts to a weary knight standing alone against a massive dragon. He prepares for battle. This is the First Legion's legendary captain, 𝑫𝒍𝒊𝒗𝒆𝒓𝒚. He lands several hits, but the dragon claws him right across the chest. The elite knight, 𝑫𝒍𝒊𝒗𝒆𝒓𝒚, unleashes a flurry of blows, but the beast retaliates with a devastating strike to his armor. Suddenly, another warrior strikes from behind with a glowing aura blade. The dragon roars as the blow lands, soaring up in agony before crashing down to the earth, finally defeated. You and I just saw a legend in the making. They've finally conquered the first 4 floors of the abyss. All right, you and I are about to watch a legendary knight meet the most unlikely hero of all. This is Lord Alaric, 3rd-ranked commander in the kingdom. His entire unit is finally celebrating their hard-won victory. Alaric thanks Sir Gareth, saying they only survived because of him. Gareth just shakes it off, acting very humble, while the squad promises to stay together. Alaric tells Lady Alara to take it easy on their dragon mount, ranked 17th in the entire world. He knows she is hungry for mana crystals, but warns there is no rush. Suddenly, her sharp instincts flare up. Leaping off the dragon, she warns that something fast is closing in. The tired knights stare into the void, dreading another fight. Alaric orders his men to draw steel, as Alara warns that the threat is almost upon them. The commander tells them to run if things get ugly, promising to hold the line alone. But the knights get emotional, swearing they will stand by him. He smiles at their loyalty, but Alara cuts him off. It is here right now. Now watch this. Out of the darkness comes a mysterious rider wearing a strange, glowing iron mask. Alaric just blinks, wondering what on earth he is seeing. The rider, Caleb, calmly asks if he can just pass through. Caleb looks at their dragon and calls it impressive. He is just glad they are here because his magic mask was about to fail. He gives a thumbs up. He warns them about dark creatures lurking ahead, then guns his magic mount and speeds away. The elite knights are left speechless. Next, we see a massive number, 150 million gold sovereigns. If that were years, you would be back with ancient beasts. For a delivery boy who only makes 3 coins a trip, this is insane. He would need 50,000 deliveries to earn this, but that is exactly the fortune he will get if he cashes in. Caleb can't stop grinning at the gold. He spent all day staring at it, even though he nearly died several times. He was almost lunch for a monster hound, and nearly strangled by the king of the dead himself. Thinking back, he really bled for this cash. But who cares? He is rich now, and like any clever merchant, he is already dreaming of making even more. He vows to get even wealthier, but his stomach rumbles. Time for roasted poultry and a cold mug of ale. Meanwhile, Alaric is stuck at a boring council meeting. Feeling drained, he sneaks out to talk with his loyal knights. Even then, he still has to report to the High Chancellor. The poor guy never gets a moment of peace. Gareth asks if he mentioned the delivery boy to the council. Alaric says no, wanting to keep the mystery rider a secret for now. They should have chased him for answers, but the whole squad was just too exhausted and confused to move a muscle. But the knights are still curious. Lady Alara mentions the weird gear and suggests he should not be too hard to track down. Alaric tells them to drop it. Their job is clearing dark zones, not hunting down some random boy on a magic mount. Then he tells his generals they need better gear, so they are heading straight to the high-level mining caves. Sir Gareth finally gives in, asking what specific metal he needs. Alaric says it is called celestial steel. Now, don't blink yet. Meanwhile, Caleb is enjoying his roasted chicken when his magic stone suddenly starts glowing and ringing. He jumps up instantly, not wanting to ignore a literal god. Even though he is starving, he is pulled through a portal and dumped onto a snowy mountain. He finds himself back at the divine smith's workshop, but then realizes he left his enchanted horse and mask behind. As he stands there panicking, someone sneaks up right behind him. A voice calls out to the boy. Caleb turns to see the divine smith in tears and asks why he is shivering outside. Caleb is baffled and asks what went wrong. The smith explains he was drinking with the wine lord when trouble arrived. Someone called him darling, yelled about his drinking, and kicked both of them out of the house. The wine lord vanished immediately, leaving the poor dwarf all alone. Caleb sighs, finally getting the whole picture, then asks exactly what needs to be delivered right now. Looking totally defeated, the divine smith begs for anything to eat or drink. He hasn't had a bite since he was evicted. He even begged his sister, but she was out of nectar. Caleb is his last hope. Our hero gets it, but honestly, he has no clue what kind of food a god actually likes. Face down in the dirt, the smith says meat and ale would be perfect. Caleb checks his device and tells him to wait. Light flashes while the dwarf stays slumped on the ground, sniffing the air. Caleb returns with the ale and roasted chicken he bought, happy to share a meal together. The dwarf asks what this strange food is, and Caleb explains it is the ultimate legendary combo from his kingdom. The smith is overjoyed, claiming he has never tasted a drink this refreshing in all his immortal years. He thought the chicken looked a bit small at first, but one bite in, and he swears it is the best food he has ever had. Caleb wonders if he is a god. The dwarf promises a reward. You and I know this gets insane. Right then, the notification pings. Lord Sterling just sent another 15,000 sovereign marks for the delivery. Arthur can't believe it. He made 150,000 marks just delivering poultry. The smith even tells him to call whenever he needs a hand. To him, this noble smith is the kindest man alive. He almost wants to hug him until a stranger approaches. All right, you and I are going to want to see this. My love, a voice calls out. Both men turn and Arthur freezes. It's Lady 𝑩𝒆𝒊𝒗𝒆𝒓, the Duchess of Beauty herself. Our hero is absolutely floored. He's never seen anyone this breathtakingly gorgeous. He simply cannot fathom how she's married to that weeping, soot-covered blacksmith. Suddenly, Lord Sterling drops to his knees. He stammers an explanation, saying he only ate here because he's been exiled. She glares at him with pure judgment. The smith begins to panic, and Arthur thinks he should probably start apologizing now. She addresses Arthur by name and introduces herself as Lady 𝑩𝒆𝒊𝒗𝒆𝒓. She truly is the goddess of grace, radiating an impossible charm. She apologizes for the scene. Arthur says it's fine, he's just the hired help. Hearing that, the smith asks for another delivery. Arthur hesitates, but 𝑩𝒆𝒊𝒗𝒆𝒓 says he looks like an honest lad, not someone driven by simple greed and coin. He promises they can rely on him, since he's the official courier of the High Lords. The smith loves the spirit, but Arthur would much rather work for 𝑩𝒆𝒊𝒗𝒆𝒓. Still, the Lord needs rare materials for his forge. The site is in his own town, and he needs star iron. Next thing we know, he's on his steel steed, questioning the map and wondering if this is the right place. Now pay attention here, this is where the stakes get real. He stands before a new vault gate, the Iron Peak Mines. He can't believe he's entering another dungeon. Once he saw the location, he knew it was the infamous Cursed Mines. He tried to back out, telling Lord Sterling he couldn't do it since the last dungeon nearly took his life. The blacksmith asked why, and he explained he isn't a knight and can't actually fight. He only survived because of a stealth helmet, but now it's ruined. Sterling just laughs. If it's broken, he'll fix it himself. Arthur realizes he's talking to the master of blacksmiths. He can repair any legendary relic in the kingdom. They're both hyped now. Arthur gets his helm back, a restored relic with 2 uses and a 2-minute stealth limit. You and I both saw that coming, right? He enters the gate and it feels like a festival. He's completely baffled. He thought monsters were the threat, But now the real challenge is pushing through the crowds to find the rare ore. Meanwhile, Sir Alistair is nearby casually eating. After driving 30 minutes, Arthur finally reaches a deserted, dark cavern. The terrain is absolutely terrible, and his steel steed is rattling like it's about to fall apart. At last, minerals start appearing in the walls. He's hunting for star iron, a distinct, glowing red ore deposit. He pushes deeper, wondering how much further it is. Suddenly, a massive skeleton knight marches right past his face. He panics but keeps speeding forward. Since he's still invisible, he's safe until his steed slams into a rock. The skeleton hears the crash but looks confused since nothing is there. Bad news, though his steel steed is basically a wreck now. He takes a long breath, then smirks. He's rich enough to buy 100 more of these bikes. He pushes deeper until he finally spots the star iron. He climbs up, pulls off his helmet, and lets out a grin. He's finally found the prize, but extracting it, that's another story. He pulls, he kicks, and finally he just gives up. What's a guy to do? Then the magical system chimes in, suggesting he check the shop for a useful tool. He opens the menu and finds a recommended pickaxe for 4,700 marks. It mines perfectly, but breaks after one use. To him, that's 47 million gold. Absolutely insane. He remembers the entrance rents out normal pickaxes for 10,000 marks. He turns to leave, swearing there's no way he's spending that kind of fortune on a single tool. But looking at his broken steed, it's clearly in bad shape. Knowing it won't survive the return trip, he decides the safer gamble is to stay. He drops the 4,700 marks, and the pickaxe materializes instantly. He tells himself he'll make it back on the next job and swings. The strike lands with perfect force. The ore snaps free, and the pickaxe turns to dust. The heavy stone rolls away, and he chases it like a total fool. He picks it up, but the ore is insanely heavy. After a brutal struggle, he finally hauls it onto his steel steed, wishing he could just teleport home. But right then, a massive stone ogre looms behind him. He isn't wearing his helmet and freezes in terror. The beast roars, making the entire cavern shake violently. Elsewhere, Sir Alistair is busy slaying skeletons when he hears the echo. He wonders what that noise was. Trust me, you're going to want to see what happens next. Something rushes from the dark, and Alistair readies his blade as Arthur flies past on his steed. All right, you and I are witnessing a courier survive the unthinkable. Cedric recognizes Arthur from the abyss, but Arthur speeds past, shouting to run. Cedric can't say a word before the guy is gone. Then, he hears something terrifying thundering right behind him. He turns around and a massive ogre is charging straight at him. He runs for his life, desperately yelling for a ride. Back at the forge, Arthur is screaming that he almost died again. Master Alaric says he's impressively fast, but Arthur curses him for not warning him how dangerous that cursed place was. The dwarf is confused, claiming nothing there is life-threatening. Arthur tries to explain that even the rocks were absolutely massive. The dwarf still looks lost, so Arthur goes to fetch it. He brings over the massive red block of ore. Watch this part closely. Arthur drops the massive ore and tells Alaric to look at the giant prize. The dwarf stares in shock. They just stare at each other. Arthur tells him to stop joking because that is the celestial metal he ordered. Alaric confirms it, then lifts the stone, claiming he's never seen celestial metal this large or this pure before. Arthur is totally confused. The dwarf tells him to wait and goes to show him something important. He returns with a tiny stone and says that used to be the biggest piece he had ever seen. He tells Arthur he's even more amazing than he thought and deserves way more than the original promise. Arthur is stunned while the dwarf gets excited. The delivery was 20,000 gold, but he gets an extra 30,000 for the size. He's so shocked by the payout that he gets dizzy. It's like getting 500,000 gold sovereigns. The dwarf says he paid extra because it would be ridiculous to take one piece and make him carry the rest. Arthur drops to the ground and thanks the blacksmith with all his heart. Alaric tells him to stand up, but his legs are thanking the smith too. Later, news reports on earthquakes at Ironreach mines. Sterling asks Cedric if he's really okay. He says yes, but warns that the mines will be closed for a while. Sterling asks what happened. Cedric mentions a giant golem and that same mysterious guy from the Abyss Gate appearing once again. The weird part was the golem chasing him. Hearing that, Sterling starts thinking about recruiting the mysterious protagonist for their guild. Cedric says he can track him down. He remembers the steed's brand and markings, plus he got the area scrying recordings. The leader thanks him, saying someone like that would be a huge gain for their noble order. He's just glad the guy wasn't hurt, and says he'll take over the search from here on. Cedric thanks him and swears to follow him anywhere until Sterling asks about the celestial metal. That shuts them both up. You and I are looking at 75,000 gold. With 500,000 sovereigns, he can finally buy a new manor. He's making an insane amount of money, even by the standards of the kingdom's top hunters. The problem is, he knows luck is the only reason he's still alive. He wonders if the shop has anything useful. He opens the menu and starts searching, but as usual, everything is overpriced and looks mostly useless. The cheapest weapons are 1,000,000 gold, and they're just replicas. For a second, he thinks fighting monsters might not be worth it. Then something grabs his attention. It's a level 1 armor suit that boosts physical ability based on its level. The price is 50,000 gold. He's annoyed the system never recommended something this good before the fight. Still, he doesn't know how strong it is, and 50,000 gold is a lot of money. After thinking it over, he buys it as an investment. It should let him handle much bigger deliveries. As he buys it, a flash appears and the suit shows up. There's no going back. He's down to 25,000 gold. Putting it on feels weird. It's tight but so light it barely feels like anything, and it doesn't get hot at all. He decides to test it. Meanwhile, Cedric is feeling absolutely miserable out in the city. He's been trying to find the guy, but even with the brand markings, he can't find an address. Since the guy hasn't done anything illegal, the guard has nothing on him. He yells, wondering how to find the bastard. Right then, Arthur stops nearby and tells him the city gate is now open. Cedric apologizes and steps aside, thinking many riders have that steed. Then he notices the distinct scratches on the side. They match perfectly. He screams for Arthur to stop, but he's already gone. Cedric tries to chase him on foot. Then spots a carriage and jumps in, telling the driver to follow that horse. He gets kicked out because the driver asks if he thinks this is a play. He keeps going, swearing to follow him. So, what do you and I take from this? Destiny always finds a way to catch up with us. All right, you and I are about to watch a lowly messenger stumble into a world of legends. A lady asks if he is fine, but he denies it. No noble would be face down in the dirt like this. Arthur still has no clue where that mysterious delivery rider disappeared to. Suddenly, a scream echoes through the trees. He gets a bad feeling and starts moving toward the source of the noise. Now pay attention here. He scans the area, but the horse is gone. That rider is definitely involved in this mess. Elders warn him to be careful, as the mountain peaks could collapse. He just tells the old men not to worry about him. He is with a major house and starts running. Once again, he is chasing after our exhausted protagonist. Then he spots a rock with a clean hole through it. He says there is no way a normal person just did that. A silver rank knight might break a rock, but a perfect crater makes no sense. This is magic or divine power at work. If the rider did this, he has to bring him into the house no matter what happens next. Back home, Arthur is wiped out, still shocked he made that hole. For a few minutes, he even outran his horse. Now he is thrilled and feels ready to step into any rift. His magic device chimes, but this time with an Eastern melody instead of a harp. The location is Ravenswood. Since it isn't Olympus, it is probably a local rift. He looks up rifts in Ravenswood, and just like he thought, there is one called the Cursed Crag. With no time limit, he lets his magic armor recharge first. Little does he know, a knight from the Order is following him. The blonde knight is watching him closely. Cedric has already heard the full report. Julian reported that if they spread scouts across the woods, they would find him eventually. The commander was skeptical, but Julian told him to relax. Then he reveals a perfect sketch of the rider. The leader asks if this is really the man they seek. The guy is stronger than he looks. Julian mentions the rock with the hole, something a normal person could never pull off. The Order of the Sun is top tier, but House 𝑩𝒂𝒎𝒆 has been growing fast in recent years. The problem is, they will do anything illegal to gain more power. You and I can see the leader will not let a talent like this join that house, given how shady they are. Julian says he can be trusted to recruit the guy. The next day at 𝑩𝒆𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒎𝒆, Arthur sees a crowd, even though it looked unpopular. As he gets closer, a guard tells him to stop there. Startled, he realizes the guy is talking to a child. He hears people whispering about the 𝑩𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒎𝒆 Knights. Arthur knows they like to take over portals. Still, he heads inside since it has nothing to do with him personally. The moment he enters the rift, a message says he is close to the delivery point. He walks a little further, and the device says he is right on top of it, leaving him confused. Then he looks up the cliff and realizes the point is at the top. Remembering the golems, he gets nervous. But with his magic armor, he feels ready for anything. He takes off his helm when someone calls out for the messenger. A face in the ground is talking to him. Arthur freezes. It is a monkey head speaking from the dirt. The monkey tells him to relax. Has he never talked to a monkey? Arthur asks if the monkey placed the order. The monkey says a child in a winged helm told him that if he wished hard enough, someone would come. Arthur starts wondering if that winged kid is behind all of this. The monkey says there is something he wants, and Arthur tells him to just name it. The monkey introduces himself as the Stone King or victorious sage. Others call him the Great Sun Wukong. Arthur instantly thinks of legends and asks why he is trapped. Wukong says he stole fruit from the Jade Emperor. He only wanted one bite, but the moment he touched it, he was sealed under this mountain. Arthur says he gets it and asks what he needs. Wukong says to follow the path to a pile of junk. A hidden box is there, and he wants it brought back. He says he will be back soon and heads off, but the monkey gives a sly smile. Elsewhere, some adventurers wonder if they found the boss. A giant stone golem sits in their path. A girl tells them not to be scared. She is Lady Alara of House 𝑩𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒎𝒆, a master as dangerous as a goddess. She knows the Sun Order cleared the first 4 levels, but if 𝑩𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒎𝒆 beats this 8 trigram boss, they might finally take the top spot. She orders the attack, and the knight tells the frontline to move. Just watch this. You and I are about to see something go horribly wrong. The second a knight steps forward, the earth collapses and a mechanical titan begins to rise. It is absolutely massive, casting a dark shadow over the entire unit. One deafening roar makes everyone tremble, screaming that they cannot possibly defeat a machine like that. But Sir Alistair warns that anyone attempting to desert will be executed by the order of the Black Dragon. The mercenaries protest that their useless weapons cannot pierce that armor. Then Lady Claire screams for every soldier to prepare for a bloody clash. Lose focus now and they will all be crushed into dust. The group hesitates, then charges in. Alistair asks Lady Claire if she truly believes this plan will work. She coldly admits she has no clue. Out in the woods, Arthur is riding his steed when a massive earthquake hits. Even the forest beasts are fleeing from that direction. Seeing black smoke on the horizon, he knows it is bad. With his enchanted armor still recharging, he decides to investigate anyway. By the time he arrives, the knights are getting slaughtered. One heavy stomp obliterates them. The backline tries to provide cover, but their arrows just bounce off the metal. Realizing their regular strikes are useless, Lady Claire spots a young mage hiding near the commander. He claims he only came to register, not fight, but Lady Claire says if they fail, her family's reputation will be ruined. He is left stunned, then she knocks him unconscious, declaring they are only here to help her conquer this land. But with the battle raging so loudly, the others just keep pushing forward. The lead knight uses a jump skill to launch himself at the Titan, landing a brutal blow to its head. He bellows for them to swarm the beast. After a desperate struggle, the iron giant finally collapses. The team cheers, thinking their blades finally found a mark. They celebrate, convinced they have survived. But trust me, you and I know better. Its gears begin to glow red-hot as it rises once more. Sir Johann looks thrilled. The boss is entering phase 2. Now it is even bigger and more terrifying. From the rear, Hadrian watches the carnage, wondering who else is hooked. My friends, if this does well, I will bring part 2, so hit that little bell. Now then. Remember how the last chapter ended with Hadrian inside the dungeon, after the creature asked him to fetch some relics. The moment he got there, he was ready. Meanwhile, Sir Cedric says he was in the Southlands yesterday and is now heading east. The poor guy is searching frantically for Arthur. He is basically scouring the entire kingdom's borders just to find him. When he reaches the entrance of the cursed mountain, the silence there completely throws him off. Suddenly, a stout guard with glasses shouts at him. Cedric asks where he came from, but the man snaps back, telling him to watch his tone. So, Cedric gives his name and demands to know what exactly they are doing here. He's already certain this man is a black dragon mercenary, so he shoves past him and tells him to move. The stout guard keeps yelling for him to stay back, but since he cannot stop a knight, Cedric enters anyway. That confirms his suspicions. If they posted guards to block the path, there must be a boss monster inside. He starts sprinting, saying he must warn the others since this fortress was already abandoned. The true battle begins when the monster enters phase 2. That is when Arthur finally arrives. Seeing the iron giant with a laser in its chest, he realizes this is the junk he needs. Watch this, it's about to get wild. Shaking, he wonders what to do. Then, he spots Lady Claire with a group nearby. He instantly recognizes them as black dragon mercenaries. The ones trying to quit are being dragged back into the carnage while begging to leave. Then, strangely, Alistair leaps onto the monster's chest with the mage. That leaves Arthur confused, wondering what he is planning. The Black Dragon Knight starts shoving the terrified adventurer toward the burning, white-hot core. The man begs not to be dropped, but Alistair says it's his own fault for trying to run away. Then he lets him fall, but Arthur rushes in and punches him in the face, calling him a bastard. The leader stares in shock, wondering who this kid is. How did he drop a rank B knight with one hit? Our hero catches the man in his arms. The adventurer thanks him for the rescue, but warns that staying in this place is extremely dangerous. Arthur looks around and realizes he is caught between the boss and the entire Black Dragon Order. He knows he could grab the box and run during the chaos, but he cannot. He tells the man not to worry. He simply could not stand by and watch someone die for nothing. Lady Claire asks why everyone stopped. While Arthur thinks this mess is the fault of these idiots, his armor has 2 minutes and 17 seconds left. He must move. Lady Claire is absolutely furious because she thought they were about to claim victory. The bald knight asks if he should send the archers, but she says no. They need more bodies for the trick to work. During the shift, the Titan is immobile. You and I know this is his chance. All right, you and I are about to see if feeding sacrifices to this beast actually makes the battle easier. Hadrian has already leaped high above the monster. From up there, he spots a crack in its skull where the core must be hidden. He's certain that's the weakness, so he throws a massive punch that lands right on the creature's crown. The commander starts trembling, wondering what that fool is doing. If he wakes the beast, everyone dies, so she orders a stop. She doesn't care if he survives. She just wants him halted. The archers begin raining arrows down on the behemoth. Hadrian's enchanted suit is down to 1 minute and 31 seconds. As he hammers the golem, he begs it to break. Suddenly, a magic warning appears, and his body starts dodging those arrows instinctively. He's stunned, wondering why these people are actually trying to kill him. The lieutenant tells the commander that this mysterious stranger is dodging like a literal god. Now watch this. He's even avoiding blindside shots until one arrow hits the creature's eye. The monster's gaze ignites with rage. The officer realizes they'll need the whole army to stop him. He commands the heavy infantry to charge immediately. Hajun wonders when this nightmare ends. The beast looks like a pincushion from all those arrows. Then, the entire earth begins to quake. The captain drops her fan, knowing they're doomed. The creature's eye glows white-hot. Phase 2 of the awakening is finally complete. Hajun complains that it's way too hot up there while the troops below tremble. The golem stomps down, and one blow wipes out the whole force. The lieutenant asks the lady for orders, but she's completely speechless and has no plan left. She knows it's over. Staring at the Colossus, she's certain every single one of them is about to be incinerated. But look up, Hajun is still there, hammering the monster's skull with blow after blow. She can't believe he's even alive. His armor has 10 seconds left. He keeps swinging as it drops to 8, then 5. He begs the stone to shatter. With only 1 second remaining, he throws a final, desperate punch and shatters the creature's head into dust. As the smoke clears, Doyun has just arrived and he can't believe his eyes. Looking at the fallen boss, he wonders if this kid really beat it alone. Doyun feels an odd connection to Hajun. They fight with the same raw style, but he never expected a meeting here. He sprints toward Hajun, determined to recruit this warrior into his knightly order today. Below, the Knights of the Black Dragon are still breathing. Zohan can't fathom that a commoner defeated the legendary 8 trigrams solo. The bald knight asks for instructions. She tells him to seize the boy the moment the fog lifts. You and I know he's strong, but he's likely exhausted now. She can't let the brat who ruined their grand design escape. Suddenly, an explosion rocks the field. It's Sir Du-hyun making an entrance. Every knight recognizes the legendary warrior at once. He says his suspicions were right. He's already figured out they were using fresh recruits as human sacrifices for the beast. Zohan didn't expect him to show up. She orders everyone to draw their swords. Pointing at him, she declares that Knight is the primary target now, and nobody better let their guard down. But then, another soldier approaches her with a huge problem. She asks for the report. He nervously admits the boy in the helmet has vanished. Zohan and Du-hyun are both completely baffled by the disappearance, and she screams in absolute rage. Neon is in a real mess. Stuck alone against them all, he got dragged into this noble conflict by total accident. Hamo fled with the helmet because he feared for his life. He nearly ended up in the heavens, and not for a delivery. The poor guy wonders why he helped when he isn't even a knight. He swears never to make that mistake again. Then something catches his eye. In the distance, he sees the Suzeong mountain city. He realizes the dungeon is fading because the boss is dead. These rifts form when gates are left open for too long, allowing anyone to enter and fight. But it's incredibly dangerous. Usually, only elite knights registered with the King's Association can survive. This time, however, the one who cleared it was just a lowly delivery worker. He prays this won't cause him trouble and wonders why he got involved. Then, he recalls the meeting with the monkey. The monkey spirit says he took too long. Crying, Hajun claims the task was impossible. The monkey tells him to quit whining and start explaining. Hajun curses, saying the monkey called it junk, but it was a massive golem that shook the whole earth and fired lasers that nearly burned him alive. Master Kang says that's impossible. The 8 trigrams is usually a peaceful creature that stays perfectly still unless someone starts a fight with it. Suddenly, the hero realizes that without the black dragon interference, this job would have been easy. Now he's furious and wants to crack skulls. How dare those nobles mess with his delivery schedule? So what do you and I think? Did he lose the package? Nope, Hajun says he got it. All right, you and I are about to see what happens when our delivery boy meets a literal god in the flesh. The great sage roars with laughter, calling Harlan a legend since even the earthly version of that beast would slaughter any knight. The king asks for his name, and our guy answers it is Harlan. The king reaches out his hand to honor Harlan Lee, but then something violent starts shaking inside that mysterious box. It explodes as an object rockets into the sky, and when Harlan looks up, the king is holding his legendary staff. Without our boy, The king would have been trapped for centuries, and Harlan realizes he is looking at the golden staff. With a whistle, a cloud appears, and the king warns Harlan to leave before the High King's elite guards arrive. The king flies off, promising they will meet again. Harlan is left standing there completely speechless by the encounter. Harlan doesn't mind him leaving or skipping payment, but then a heavy sack hits him in the face. The king isn't cheap. Harlan asks what it is, but the great sage has already vanished into the sky before he can answer. A golden light shines from the sack. He opens it, wondering if this is really just a bonus. Later, back home, Harlan watches the news. They're covering several accusations against the Black Dragon Order. He felt relieved knowing those bastards were finally paying. The man Harlan saved told reporters nobody expected to fight a boss. Then, the crier asked about the helmeted knight who rescued everyone from the flames. Now pay attention here. This is where we see just how much of a hero he's truly become. He took down the 8 guardians alone. Harlan smiled, thinking all that effort in the raid finally meant something great. When his body moved on its own, he thought he'd gone mad, but it worked out and nobody learned his true identity. Still, the best part was the pay. He now had 95,300 points, 70,000 from this one delivery alone. It's 70,000 gold coins from one job, enough for a massive manor, even if that boss fight deserved way more pay. He also got a reward he never expected, a single strand of hair from the great sage himself. Just place the hair in your palm and blow. It summons a powerful clone of the great sage himself. Harlan was thrilled because it could save him. Lately, strange monsters kept showing up all over the kingdom. Even as a clone, it is still the great sage. He even makes a goofy monkey face while looking at it. Right then, a new delivery request comes in. He grabs his jacket and helmet, ready for the next dangerous job. Meanwhile, at a nearby infirmary, a guild leader rushes through the halls, desperately calling out for a young knight named Dorian. Dorian had clearly been beaten badly by the rival order and looked rough. He asked why his leader was there. Wasn't he meant to be in the north today? Sterling said he already finished and could not stay away. Part of the blame for Dorian ending up like this was his, but the boy said it was not. He had misjudged the situation and stepped in when he should not have. He should have been more careful around those creeps. Sterling was furious. They dared attack someone from his guild. He said Arya should have gone with Dorian. Next time he'd crush those guys himself. Then he asked if Dorian was okay. Dorian said things looked quite bad. You and I saw that coming, but the guild leader, he fell for the brat's prank hook, line, and sinker. His arm only had a small fracture, and he would be back to normal fighting shape soon. He laughed in the leader's face, but Sterling grabbed his cheek and said maybe today was a good day to retire. Dorian shot back that he'd follow his leader forever. A little later, the leader asked if the story was true. The boy had beaten the 8 guardians alone. Dorian said he saw him smash the monster's head with one punch. As a martial artist, watching someone win a fight bare-handed left a massive impression on his soul. The team sent to find that boy had no luck. Sterling said cameras showed him vanishing in an alleyway. High in the clouds, Harlan lets out a sneeze, wondering why it is freezing up there. Soon, he reaches Vulcan's forge, which was way too hot. He greets his friend, but the smith is busy. Harlan sat down, figuring he'd wait for the smith to finish. In that warm room, he got sleepy. The heat reminded him of home. It felt just like being safe in his mother's warm arms. Vulcan suddenly snaps him awake with a massive hug, and a startled Harlan asks where the hell the dwarf came from. Master Vulcan said the kid looked worn out, but the trip was far. Could he really handle the journey? Harlan would walk across the entire continent for enough gold, and trust me, you and I are ready for his next journey. Master Alaric smiled, glad he could rely on him, then produced a staff and declared it the final item. He had forged it using the rare alloys Arthur brought earlier, and it had to be delivered today. Stick with me here. You and I are about to watch Arthur embark on the absolute weirdest delivery mission of his entire life. Arthur was stunned, saying a dragon might be faster. Besides, spires weren't even part of their kingdom's lore. With a wink, Alaric said he had clients beyond the citadel. Arthur grumbled but sped off, promising a quick delivery. Then the master stopped him, saying he forgot one detail. This client was a bit unusual. So he had arranged an assistant for Arthur. The boy was confused, wondering why he needed help. Then someone greeted him, saying they came by Lord Eros's order and introduced themselves as Alara. Despite the name, Alara was a woman, or so he thought. He didn't overthink it and sped off on his steed. The good news was the journey would be quick, since the Sand Kingdom floated in the sky with no traffic. Pay attention now. This is where the simple delivery mission turns into a total disaster for our hero. She kept kicking Arthur in the head, and he was already losing his temper. He called her a tiny, annoying pest. She snapped back, claiming she was actually quite tall for a nymph. An hour earlier, when she first appeared, she likely claimed it was an honor to serve our hero. Arthur clearly didn't want her along, but Alaric insisted. The hero turned and asked if he really could not go alone. Alara demanded some respect, while Alaric explained it wasn't a matter of trust. Arthur simply didn't know the destination, but Alara did. So she was meant to help, not slow him down. But on the steed, she just picked her nose and said she didn't want to help this kid. She complained about the human steed, kicking his head and asking how much longer the trip would take. He ignored her, and she kept screaming for an answer. So he promised that if she stayed quiet, he'd tell Alaric she was perfect and caused no trouble. But to Alara, being useless would ruin her reputation. She had studied her whole life, and nymphs like her were treated almost like divine beings. She refused to stop whining until a candy dropped into her mouth. Startled, she asked what he had just done. Arthur said she would not stop talking, so he gave her a sweet to shut her up. If she stayed quiet, he would give her more. Let us be real. Good candy is basically a miracle, and Alara is completely hooked. She warned him not to lie, but he promised to keep his word. Candy was the easiest way to handle kids. With her finally quiet, they were only 800 meters from the goal. He enjoyed the peace briefly before spotting glowing eyes. He slowed down as thick fog surrounded them. Annoyed, he asked Alara why she hadn't warned him. She blamed the candy for distracting her. He stopped the steed and pulled her off while she pointed ahead, terrified. Before them stood a massive sphinx. It declared they could pass only if they solved its ancient riddle. Alara warned that this beast ate those who failed. It was kin to the monster that nearly destroyed the citadel. This one wasn't quite legendary, but Arthur wasn't exactly a powerhouse either. One look at its size told him physical force was useless. His phone rang, and he prayed this job paid well. After that, he stepped forward. Alara asked what he was doing, and Arthur said he'd simply answer the riddle. She tried to stop him, warning he'd die if he failed. But Arthur was certain he knew the riddle since the usual stories are famous everywhere. Worst case, he still had the Monkey King's hair. The beast turned to him and asked if he was ready. Arthur told it to start. He had a delivery. Meanwhile, Alara cried because the fool had actually agreed. The Sphinx smiled and told them to prepare. Arthur expected the classic riddle about what walks on 4 legs in the morning, 2 at noon, and 3 at night. Honestly, old men these days can be so fit they don't even need canes. He stayed confident, having heard that specific riddle plenty of times. But then the Sphinx asked, "What do you call the sound a duck makes when it falls?" Arthur stood there completely dumbfounded, while the Sphinx stared him down. He asked what kind of stupid duck question that was supposed to be. Alara thought hard and said ducks go quack. Then she burst into tears because she had no idea what sound they made when hurt. Being watched through a crystal ball, the last thing she wanted was to be eaten alive. That orb was being observed by a noblewoman in desert robes, who said the 2 visitors looked very interesting. And that is where we leave it. Trust me, you and I are going to want to see what happens next. All right, you and I are about to watch one of the most ridiculous riddle solutions in fantasy history. Lucinda, desperate, cried it was impossible. Even as a top scholar, she had no clue and turned her anger on Arthur. She was about to be devoured because of his mistake. She recalled her mentor's warning. Before anyone solved a riddle, 100 scholars were usually eaten by the beast. Lucinda asked if they were unsolvable, and he said not even Sir James answered correctly. He warned her to run from any guardian. Now she was sobbing, knowing this would end in tragedy. Then Arthur turned around and said a duck falling makes a quack ident. A mix of quack and accident. Lucinda froze, asking what on earth he was thinking with a joke like that. Now pay attention here. Nobody, and I mean nobody, expected this ridiculous answer to actually be the right one. She snapped, asking how that counted. Arthur thought it was obvious, it was just a joke after all. The guardian praised him, granting passage. Before Lucinda could finish complaining, Arthur told her to be quiet and move. He cleared the path, so she needed to go. The guardian just stood there, baffled by his sheer hostility. Then he told the guardian to find better riddles. That one was terrible. The spirit actually started weeping. It claimed it was just dust in its eye. Lucinda still couldn't believe he actually got the answer right. Then Arthur told her to hold on tight as he sped up. Soon they entered the passage, and Lucinda called out softly. He asked what was wrong, and she said she wanted to apologize for her behavior. She was meant to help, but instead she looked down on him for being a commoner. She felt unworthy of her title. Arthur told her not to be so hard on herself. Compared to the insults he usually heard, this was nothing. To him, she was just like a loud younger cousin. He didn't mind. Lucinda blushed and thanked him. Later, they reached the grand vault. It was so massive that even Lucinda couldn't see the peak. Arthur scouted around. The map confirmed this was the place. Then she spotted some ancient writing nearby. They found a stone box covered in script, and she said it told them to ring the bell. He was impressed she read the runes, and she boasted of her elite training. So he pressed the stone, and the world began to shake. She said it was gravity magic for a doorbell. Suddenly the floor gave way, dropping them both into a dark abyss. You and I both know that landing had to hurt, but wait until you see who he landed on. He nearly crushed her soul. He asked if she was dead, and she snapped that unfortunately she was still alive. They continued through the halls. Arthur thought this felt more like a dungeon raid than a delivery until Lucinda told him to halt. Was it a trap? She told him to point his light at the wall so she could translate the ancient inscriptions. Seeing the runes, he asked what they meant and why the art showed knights with a giant. Lucinda looked terrified, sensing a dark secret. She spoke of a cruel queen who tormented forest kin, and she was sure these were warnings about the massacres. But to Arthur, it looked less like suffering and more like a merry festival in a green meadow. Still, she got fired up, claiming this was her chance to avenge her house. Arthur told her to hush since they were guests. Then a mysterious figure stepped out and asked what all this talk of vengeance was about. The lady turned and asked why they had broken into her manor. Smiling like an empress, she called them rude. She asked which one of them wanted blood. Arthur couldn't see a thing in the shadows. But Lucinda flew right at her, shouting about avenging her kin. Arthur told her to calm down and stop this madness at once. The noblewoman just smiled and asked if she was a sprite. She said it had been ages since she saw one. Then she pulled her into a hug, calling her precious. While being squeezed, Lucinda yelled for the enemy to let go. Arthur watched. Later, the lady explained that long ago, they held grand galas for sprites there, and the tiny ones were always the cutest. She hated that they had all vanished. Arthur said he now understood how they all died. She probably hugged them to death, and Lucinda was living proof. The lady finally let go, saying she simply could not help. Lucinda cried, saying her life flashed before her eyes. Then she asked Arthur why he didn't intervene, but he stayed calm. They started bickering, with her saying he called her family. How could he let family get crushed like that? The lady interrupted to introduce herself. She ruled the 2 glowing kingdoms and was the divine voice of the High Sovereign. But the Dew ignored her and kept arguing. Arthur asked what all this sovereign talk meant. So, you and I are left with a massive mystery. What exactly are these 2 types of gods? All right, you and I are diving into a world of gods, some born divine, others like this lady standing before them. The high priestess was not happy about being called an old hag. Arthur said he had a delivery, but she already knew. She had been tracking his entire journey from her throne. Suddenly, the chest flew right into her hands. She examined it closely, praising the master blacksmith for such a flawless, elegant, and high-quality design. She noted that Arthur the courier really lived up to his legendary status, which just left the poor guy totally confused. Since when was he famous? Regardless, job done, he asked her to send any extra gold coins straight to his bank vault. Lucy called him a greedy embarrassment, asking if he had even an ounce of knightly pride left. Arthur snapped back that pride doesn't fill a stomach. That gold paid for the sweet treats she loved so much. That shut her up real quick. The priestess laughed at their friendship and told them not to worry about the heavy payment. Trust me, this goddess is loaded. He got 50,000 for the job plus a 50,000 gold bonus. That brought his total to 1,950,000. The kid now had $19 million. Lucy demanded her share of candy, so he promised to buy her an entire bakery shop. She got greedy and demanded 90% of the profits, leaving him speechless and annoyed. The lady warned them to use the main gates next time. She loved that tunnel, but taking deliveries in a dusty basement was just plain stupid. Lucy pointed to a sign that said to ring the bell if no guards were present. The priestess explained those guards had been gone for years. They should have just knocked on the front palace doors. Basically, they wasted time in a hole for absolutely nothing. With the quest complete, they headed back to Lord Wayland the Ironmaster's private estate. He was exhausted, but alive. He told Lucy to wake up because she was literally drooling all over his gauntlet. She blinked, asking if they were home. Arthur pointed out they were already standing right in front of the master's house. She spoke through the magic stone, thanking him for the day and saying she had a blast. He wondered why she was acting nice. Then he realized the contract was over and they were finally parting. Smiling, he admitted she was actually decent company despite the constant non-stop talking. She told him to shut his mouth and stop ruining the sentimental moment. But once inside, they both declared they never wanted to work together ever again. Honestly, Arthur was shocked they hadn't killed each other yet. Lord Wayland appeared, saying the client was absolutely thrilled with them. He suggested making them a permanent duo, and for a second, they both actually considered the offer. Then they bumped heads and joked they would only do it if the whole kingdom begged them. Now pay attention, because this brings us back to that cliffhanger where they both swore off the partnership. Next thing we see is our hero sleeping soundly when someone starts screaming his name. He wakes up to Lucy shaking him like a rag doll. Arthur shouts in terror, but she just plugs her ears and complains about him being so incredibly loud for no reason. She then asks if he forgot they are officially partners now. It all hits him. Lord Wayland had literally cried, begging Arthur to help his only child, and Arthur was just too soft to say no. The partnership was one thing, but now he had to live with this walking, talking migraine. He groaned about her waking him up, but Lucy insisted the noise was coming from him. He checked his magic mirror and saw endless orders from the Royal Express. He had no clue what that was, but the requests were flooding in. That is when he finally realized what was actually happening. These were low-level peasant jobs. The guy who made millions was now being asked to deliver noodles for 5 silver coins. It had been a full week since that last chaotic delivery he made well, let's just say he was indisposed on the toilet. Lucy asked if he was sick, but he tried to play it cool. However, she was not backing down. She grabbed his tunic, demanding the truth. Before he could even open his mouth, his magic communication stone started glowing red. He froze the moment he saw it was his old guild manager calling. The second he answered, the man started screaming about the massive pile of orders and why Arthur was slacking off at home. Turns out the Royal Express is his old job. The boss says he was kind enough to end his suspension early, yet the kid still hasn't learned. He threatens to fire him on the spot if he doesn't move. But Arthur Lee finally snaps and tells him to go ahead and do it. He really does not care anymore. The boss is stunned, but Arthur just keeps daring him to follow through. Lucy even tracks his rage, passing 40,000 before her meter explodes. You and I definitely saw that coming. Stick with me. You and I are about to meet a hero who truly does not care about the rules. The supervisor tries to keep arguing, but Arthur just cuts the connection. The guy is left fuming, especially after being called bald. Lucia asks if he is all right. He smiles and says he is fine. Let's go eat. Meanwhile, at the Sterling house, Lord Sterling is losing his mind because they still cannot find their target. Commander Silas reports they searched every single street on the list, but no one was there. He thinks the target knows people are watching and is hiding on purpose. Lord Sterling thanks him and sighs. He already has enough problems without this mystery man adding to the headache. When asked if the search should continue, he calls it off. It is not worth wasting any more good men. Then he asks for an update on the northern border, and the news is just as bad. 6 elite knights failed to close the rift. In 5 days, it will transform into a full-scale abyss. A month ago, a rift appeared in an old ruin. When the Knight Academy asked his house to handle it, he knew it would be tough. Pay attention here. This is where his plan actually gets clever. He tells Silas to alert the main squad. They are finally preparing to move out and handle it themselves. He plans to show everyone exactly why his house is considered the best. Meanwhile, Silas is busy enjoying a bowl of spicy tavern stew. He laughs, saying it would have been perfect to see that manager's face after being hung up on. Lucia sits across from him and says they have a serious problem. The food is so good she wants way more. He tells her to be careful not to spill, but she just keeps praising how soft and flavorful it is. To her, this food is amazing. He realizes she really has not had much to enjoy in her life until now. Even the people nearby start whispering that things must be rough if she has never eaten simple tavern stew before. Looking at her age and his face, everyone assumes he is just a young, single father. Arthur was not expecting that. Later, as they head outside, Lucia is completely stuffed. He wipes her face and reminds her not to overeat. That is when it hits him. This feels less like a partner and more like he suddenly has a young daughter. I know what you are thinking. These neighbors really need to mind their own business, right? He realizes the neighborhood is judging him. If Lucia is staying, he definitely needs a much bigger estate. He thinks moving is a great idea. She gets excited, saying anything is better than his tiny little fish tank. If they are moving, she says it should be to that giant castle over there. She points at a luxury manor. He squishes her cheeks and tells her she has no clue how expensive a place like that really is. With her cheeks puffed out, she asks about all the gold from the ancient tomb. He remembers his massive stash. He actually has over 1 million gold crowns. Maybe it is possible. Lucia is already hyped because it is huge. And just like that, our simple mercenary might actually be shopping for a luxury estate in the capital. The place is brand new and extra nice. The broker tells him the soonest they can move in is 2 weeks. The man keeps talking, but Arthur cuts him off. He likes the look of it, and that is enough. Still, he wants to check a few more spots. Lucia asks why they cannot just stay in this one right now. He picks her up and says he has not decided yet. Then he spots a girl he thinks he recognizes. A bit later, Lucia is stuffing herself with stew again. She keeps saying how delicious everything tastes. She looks at him and asks why he is not eating. He is too busy staring at the papers, drooling over his new deed. After checking a few more estates with the broker, he ended up choosing the very first one they saw. The price was decent for a new build. Still, he cannot stop thinking about that girl he saw leaving earlier. Then it clicks. He saw her at the Shadow Gate, so she is an elite knight as well. He figures she did not recognize him since his helmet covered his face, but something else is bothering him. Why have no new quest contracts come in? Lucia says they just did one, but he notes that was days ago. She says that is not long, but he is used to working every single day. She tells him to stop expecting it. Greed only causes problems, and he already has plenty of gold stored away. He admits she was right until yesterday. He had 19 million gold, but the down payment cost 12 million. Once he adds in the monthly fees, furniture, and living costs for both of them, he realizes the truth. And trust me, you and I just watched a hero realize he spent way too much. That gold could have bought a castle. Trust me, Alaric knows the struggle. Rent in the capital is absolutely soul-crushing. Alina asks what they do now, and he says when you are broke, you save. So no sweets for her. Her face drops, but then she says she will think of something. A second later, she gets an idea and asks why he doesn't go door to door looking for some work. There is no rule saying they must wait for jobs. They could ask Lord Vulcan which nobles might need a delivery. He ruffles her hair and admits she is actually pretty smart. The problem is reaching the high citadel. She says he goes there often, so it should be easy. But Alaric explains he only gets there when a delivery summons him. Alina looks instantly crushed. Then the story cuts to a sky carriage carrying the first and second squads of the Young Blood Order. 45 knights were called in, including number 2, Sir Alistair, the neighbor of our main character, and Sir Cedric, too. He reminds everyone that today's mission is the newly formed magical rift. They need to leave past failures behind and show the Order's glory again. Everyone cheers. Then he calls for Alistair and they depart. Inside, he asks if she is sure the messenger guy moved in next door. With that sharp memory of hers, she says yes. She cannot be completely certain, but it really seems that way. The Grandmaster of the Order is totally crushed. After spending huge resources trying to find the guy, it turns out he moved in right beside her. He asks one more time if she is sure, and she says yes. At least now Squad 1 has an easy lead, so their focus can stay on clearing the rift. Meanwhile, Alistair thinks this must be the man who soloed the 8-track Rams, and she is seriously excited to fight him someday. Back in Vulcan's forge, Alaric arrives, but not for a delivery this time. The place is dark and closed up. Alina panics and says they should leave before they get punished for trespassing. He says it is fine, since she is the one who taught him how to get here. Even so, Alina insists it is rude to enter someone's home when they aren't around. He cannot help noticing how hypocritical that is, considering she has called the owner an old hack before. Then someone steps on his back and demands to know who dared trespass so early. It is just Lord Vulcan, and Alaric greets him. The god says he doesn't remember ordering any delivery, so why are they here? Alaric answers that he came to ask a favor. The dwarf asks what he wants, but Alaric says first he brought a gift so he wouldn't be empty-handed. When the blacksmith asks what it is, he proudly shows off a fresh bottle of northern mead. Since the god liked the ale before, he figured he would bring something new. Alaric acts like he doesn't care, then immediately tells him to ask for the favor. Alaric asks if he knows any god who needs a delivery. The dwarf thinks for a moment and says a few names do come to mind, but there is a catch. Pay attention now, because the jobs he knows are extremely dangerous. But Alaric doesn't hesitate. He'll do anything. Nothing is scarier than being broke. Lord Vulcan decides the kid is ready and says he will send him over right now. A blue flash appears and Alina tries to ask which god it is, but he is already gone. An instant later, he appears in a forest with no clue where he is. Vulcan sent him off without a single detail. Then the system suddenly warns him of detected danger. The moment Alaric turns, he sees a red eye glaring at him. A giant 3-eyed demon boar is charging straight in. He braces himself, knowing he cannot dodge in time, until an arrow shoots from the bushes and hits the beast in the head, dropping it on the spot. He spins around, confused, wondering what just happened, and if the thing is really dead. Now watch this. A familiar blue glow pops out of the bushes, cheering that they almost got flattened. He is stunned. He had no idea Alina followed him. She says the second he vanished, she teleported right after him. It was close, but she is impressed he beat one of the most feared beasts around here. Still shaking, Alaric says he wasn't the one who actually killed it. Then someone behind them says that was him. Alaric hadn't even noticed anyone else nearby. The old guy looks strange enough that even our hero can't help staring. The man comments on finding a human and a nymph here. Alaric keeps staring. His upper body is human, but below that he is a horse. Then his magical device confirms he reached the destination. So this odd old man is today's client. The old man says almost no one ever makes it here and asks who they are. The second Alina notices the centaur's injured leg, she calls Alaric over and says she thinks she knows him. Jason, leader of the Argonauts, Achilles, hero of the Trojan War, and even Hercules, who led the citadel against the giants, were all trained by this man. He is Lord Chiron, teacher of the greatest heroes. The moment she says the name Hercules, he draws his bow and aims. With an arrow ready, he demands to know if they have any idea how much pain that name caused him. Alaric explains they aren't here for Hercules. Lord Vulcan sent them. You and I need to see what's next. All right, you and I are about to watch a legendary centaur lose his mind. Lord Chiron calms for a second before unleashing an arrow storm, but Arthur's enchanted armor keeps him safe while the woods get shredded. Later, inside Chiron's manor, they finally lay out the whole story from the beginning. Chiron is intrigued. Lord Vulcan of the Forge would not just send any random traveler to his door. Still, the boy doesn't look like a hero. Then again, he's traveling with a forest sprite, a rare privilege even for the greatest knights in the kingdom. Meanwhile, Arthur whispers to Lucia, wondering why Chiron still doubts them. She just shrugs, having no clue herself. She heard he was a kind soul. Finally, Chiron chooses to trust them, letting both travelers breathe a massive sigh of relief. He asks if they truly can retrieve anything. Arthur claims he can, so Chiron decides to give the boy one chance. He hands over a flask, pointing toward a massive lake to the north. Arthur must go there and collect saliva from the beast living nearby. He takes the vessel, but the mention of saliva makes him hesitate. Is he seriously being asked to fill a jar with spit? Chiron confirms that is exactly the task and asks if Arthur has an issue. Arthur thinks it is a bizarre task, but he agrees instantly. There is no way he is passing up a high-paying noble contract. Watching them leave, Chiron calls the boy a fool for charging ahead without fear. Still, it serves as the perfect test of his mettle. If he succeeds, the next task is the Frost Peak, a place where no mortal man is meant to survive. But watch this carefully. Chiron doubts he will even reach the gates. Then Arthur activates his Magitech armor and rockets skyward. The centaur is left staring in absolute shock as Arthur flies off carrying Lucia in his arms. Having mastered the armor, the boy maintains a blistering speed all the way to the distant mountain cave. The ascent is effortless, and seconds later, he lands at the dark cavern entrance. He deactivates the armor with 32 seconds of power remaining. Lucia, meanwhile, looks so dizzy she is ready to lose her lunch. Once inside, Arthur says they just need that spit. The problem is, they keep walking into the darkness and find absolutely nothing. Arthur notices Lucia breaking into a cold sweat and starts to worry. She shakily insists she is an elite knight and fears nothing. Then, a single drop of liquid hits the stone floor. Lucia screams in terror, but Arthur tells her to just relax. It is just a drop, right? Well, think again. Arthur laughs it off, but then he senses something massive moving in the shadows. He turns and comes face to face with a 36-headed serpent, the legendary, immortal Hydra. Good news, getting saliva will be easy. Bad news, that monster is a godslayer. Back at the manor, Chiron wonders where the boy vanished. He assumed the boy was just a clever mortal, but no matter his abilities, reaching the peak this quickly should be impossible. Then, Chiron spots the scorched crater from the launch and uses a spell to confirm the boy truly reached the cave. He prepares to leap across the valley himself, but his old, wounded leg holds him back. Even so, he jumps, praying the boy was not insane enough to actually enter. After all, that dark cavern is home to a truly immortal nightmare. Meanwhile, Arthur tries to force a smile. He knows his chances of surviving this encounter are practically zero. A second later, he is sprinting for his life with Lucia in his arms, cursing Chiron for this betrayal. The Hydra scans the cave, hunting them. Arthur crouches behind a jagged rock, whispering that they just need to stay quiet until the beast falls asleep. But Lucia is shaking, knowing exactly what they are facing. This is a Hydra. She demands to know why he ever accepted Chiron's suicide mission. He snaps back that he never would have if Chiron had told the truth. That centaur played him for a fool. If he had his enchanted helm, he might stand a chance, but he is fully exposed. Then, a magical message appears. In dire emergencies, a delivery service is available. For 5,000 gold, he can summon any item from the shop directly to his location. The fee is 35,000 coins for a helm worth only 800. It is a massive scam, but Arthur has no other choice. His life is worth the price, so he grits his teeth and pays. The silver helmet materializes in his hand. Lucia stares in shock, asking how it appeared from thin air. Arthur sighs, saying the only thing disappearing was his life savings. He dons the cursed helm and tells the Hydra to open wide. Then, he begins walking straight toward the monster. Lucia panics, screaming that he has gone mad and pointing toward the exit. He simply says he knows what he is doing. Lucia warns him that this is no mere beast. It is a true child of the gods. The Hydra's venom is so legendary and deadly that even the High Court fears it. Arthur just replies that if the archdemon is truly her father, he had absolutely terrible taste in daughters. Lucia tells him to stop joking around. This monster is far more dangerous than any sphinx. But he tells her to wait at the entrance, promising he will be fine. Lucia storms off, hoping the venom burns his skin off. Arthur thinks that curse was a bit much. Still, it is time to deal with this nightmare once and for all. With his helmet active, he approaches. The Hydra is sleeping with eyes wide open, and you and I are about to see if he survives. Trust me, you and I are about to see just how deadly this quest really is for Elias. He realizes any normal vial would be dust. Why Master Alaric wants this acid is a mystery, but it better pay. Suddenly, the whole cavern begins to shake violently. The stone ceiling trembles like it is about to collapse during an earthquake ripping through the cave. To make matters worse, he drops the vial. Yeah, our hero is in some serious trouble now. His hand is literally touching the Hydra's eye. Now he is wondering how he can possibly steal its toxic spit. The beast seems to look right at him and he nearly screams, but it is only in his head. He covers his mouth and prays. As long as the shadow helmet stays on, he is safe. Then a voice suddenly asks what is going on. It says it smells rotting underworld spirits it hasn't caught in ages, then asks if he came from the abyss. Elias realizes she found him by scent alone. The voice tells the boy not to panic just yet. She knows he is using the helmet of Hades. Seeing no point in hiding, our boy stays still as she speaks. Cold sweat runs down his back. There is no way he can admit he came here to steal her spit. The snake heads keep pressing him, and one massive head guesses that Lord Hades must have sent him here. Now pay attention here, because they start bickering, and the voice demands to know why he still will not speak after waking her up today for nothing. So he makes something up and says he only came to check on her. He takes off the helmet and claims he is here now. That clearly catches the monster off guard. She guesses the hellhound sent him, and Hydra agrees. Elias says the beast missed her and wanted to know if she was okay. The Hydra says she never thought that Bastard would care about his own older sister after all this time. After 1,000 years of silence, she never expected this. The news leaves Elias completely stunned by the connection. This Hydra is insanely dangerous, so he stays sharp. Outside, Lucia is furious and on the verge of tears. Knowing Elias cannot win this, she runs down the mountain for help. She runs into Master Alaric, who asks why she is all alone now. She screams that Elias is facing the Hydra. Alaric is shocked. He never thought the kid would go that deep. When she begs for help, he admits even he cannot beat that dangerous beast. Lucia demands to know what they are supposed to do now. Alaric regrets testing the boy. With a heavy sigh, he tells her to lead the way back to the cave. She asks if he is sure. He says he will not let the boy die because of his own mistake today. Back in the cave, 𝑩𝒆𝒊𝒗𝒆𝒓𝒚 is in shock. He never expected the Hydra to have a stunning human form of her own. Not even her brother has seen her like this. 𝑩𝒆𝒊𝒗𝒆𝒓 realizes that brother must be the hellhound from earlier. The Hydra softly asks how her little brother is doing, saying she misses him dearly after all these years. He tells her the hellhound is doing well. He eats 3 meals, works hard, and seems very happy. I know what you are thinking. Should he tell the truth? Well, 𝑩𝒆𝒊𝒗𝒆𝒓𝒚 stays quiet as the Hydra smiles in relief. 𝑩𝒆𝒊𝒗𝒆𝒓𝒚 says goodbye and tries to leave, mission complete. But the moment he turns, she tells him to stop. She says guests of her brother cannot leave empty-handed. His body locks up as he turns back and refuses. Too late, she flicks her tongue and insists. She tells him to take the glowing scale from her back. He hesitates, unsure why she is giving it. She says her scales carry magic to help his journey. He realizes it is like the gift from the Monkey King. At that point, he is sold. No way he is passing up a legendary gift like that. Afraid of being turned to stone, he activates his suit for a second and rips the scale right off her back. The problem is the suit fails in short bursts, so he slams hard into the ground. He is grinning with the crystal in hand, but the Hydra is not pleased. She says he has gotten very bold. That sounds like a challenge. 𝑩𝒆𝒊𝒗𝒆𝒓𝒚 scrambles up, insisting the whole thing was just a clumsy accident. Meanwhile, Alaric is shaking as he watches. He yells, asking if the boy actually defeated the Hydra alone. From the magical sensor, the hero is blazing with power while the Hydra looks defeated on the ground. Lucia jumps off Alaric and hugs 𝑩𝒆𝒊𝒗𝒆𝒓𝒚, glad he is alive. He reminds her he said to wait outside because it was dangerous. She pouts, saying she was scared. Alaric still cannot believe a human beat the Hydra, something even Hercules struggled with. You and I just saw a legend in the making. All right, you and I are jumping in as Arthur apologizes to the serpent, who asks if the wood spirit is his. He quickly denies it, calling her a neighborhood pest. The serpent smiles, finding their strange dynamic quite amusing. Then she looks at Master 𝒂𝒗𝒂 and notes it's been ages. He's grown old. Perhaps time finally broke his immortal shell. Arthur is lost, wondering what history they share. The old knight laughs, mocking the boy for knowing nothing. Their legend is famous, involving Sir Alaric, a venom-tipped arrow, and the tragic loss of Master 𝒂𝒗𝒂's immortality. Officially, it was just an accident. During that bloody battle, 𝒂𝒗𝒂 was struck in the leg by a stray arrow. But maybe it was fate. Perhaps it was karma for raising a monster like Sir Alaric. Long ago, before the High Spire, the High King called him 𝒂𝒗𝒂 the Wise, asking if he truly wished to die. Kneeling, he begged the king to take his eternal life because the agony was unbearable. The king eventually agreed. As a reward for training so many knights, he promised 𝒂𝒗𝒂 would become a great constellation. 𝒂𝒗𝒂 was confused, but the king just said he wouldn't truly die. The master tried to argue, but it was decided. That day, 𝒂𝒗𝒂 the Wise vanished, rising instead as a divine spirit, the commander of the Archer constellation. From then on, he became a myth. Back in the cave, the serpent says her venom is a death sentence to any living creature. He must be draining every drop of his divine power just to stay standing. 𝒂𝒗𝒂 snaps back that her tongue is still nasty. She smirks, noting his mouth has certainly gotten filthier. He used to be a gentleman. Then she turns to Arthur and asks if that's his name. He nods, trying to piece this history together, when a sudden flash of light blinds everyone in the room. Now watch this. The serpent holds up a vial, revealing she knew they came for her saliva all along. Arthur asks if she knew. She laughs, he smelled of 𝒂𝒗𝒂. Then she tells the master to come and take it. But he hesitates, asking for the price. He knows the serpent lady never gives anything away for free. She sighs, tired of being the villain. She reminds him she wasn't the one who poisoned him. It was Sir Alaric. Arthur is floored. This flips the entire legend. Even after hearing the truth, he's still totally stunned. The serpent offers the vial, claiming she's waited an age for him to take it. 𝒂𝒗𝒂 finally reaches out. You won't believe what happens next. He opens the vial and drinks the poison immediately. It looks absolutely lethal. The toxins race through his leg even faster. His vision blurs and he collapses. Arthur panics, screaming at the serpent. Then he hears it, laughter. Chiron is weeping with joy because his leg finally feels normal again. For 3,890 years, he had lived with that constant, burning agony. He had forgotten life without pain. The serpent gently tells him she knows just how terrible his burden was. Arthur and Lyra rush over. Later, at the master's manor, they sit around wondering why he's taking so long. Arthur starts complaining, but Lyra tells him to stop accusing a noble man like Master Chiron. He slumps down, thinking he's not even owed a reward since the serpent just handed the saliva over. Sitting there, he realizes he's got no case. Then Chiron opens the door and finally apologizes for the wait. He says it took longer than expected to find what he needed. Arthur is about to snap, but Lyra silences him. She asks if he was looking for his legendary bow, and he says yes. The bow was originally for Sir Alaric, but Chiron believes it suits Arthur much better. Being a bit of an idiot, our hero grumbles about wanting money. He assumes the bow is junk and takes it anyway. Suddenly, the door flies open. As they reach for weapons, a man walks in, apologizing for the sudden intrusion. Lyra recognizes him immediately. That massive sword makes for one hell of an entrance. It's Prince Valen, the war prince. Still clueless, Arthur mutters that the guy looks like a royal troublemaker. Lyra tells him to shut his mouth. Valen is the High Prince, son of the High King. He notes how odd a mortal looks with a wood spirit. He asks if he's Arthur Lee. The boy says yes. Valen suddenly lunges and Arthur can't even react. But the prince just collapses. He begs for help, leaving Arthur completely baffled by the whole situation. At 27, Arthur Lee became the first human to ever put a prince of the gods in his place. Later on a steam train, Lyra says this metal carriage is crazy fast. He tells her to quiet down. He's totally exhausted. Trust me, you and I will want to see his phone. 100,000 coin deduction, but a massive bonus hit too. Alaric's fatigue vanishes instantly until the man behind them commands them to stop shouting. Lucinda mocks him, but Alaric is unbothered. Trust me, you and I are about to see if he can save a legend in 5 hours. Back at the manor, he asks what this dangerous contract is really about. Lord Ares admits he backed a knight, but the stars show the man will die today. Alaric asks why Ares cannot intervene himself. Lucinda explains that would break causality. Advisor Thorn adds that gods cannot meddle with human life and death. No matter how much they hate it, even gods cannot control fate. But Ares says this case is different. He cannot let this hero die. He bet everything on him. There are mythic-level knights whom gods can empower with marks to give them more strength. As the knight gets more famous, the god earns more too. But if that hero dies early, the god loses every point invested. Advisor Thorn calls him insane for putting it all on a single warrior. Ares is a total gambling addict, and now he is shaking, begging for help. He did not just use his own divine fortune. He secretly used his father's treasury, too. Alaric and Lucinda freeze. If Ares used those points, he just burned through the High King's entire fortune. On the carriage, Alaric mutters that he is no weaver of miracles. How is he supposed to protect a knight with mythic talent? Still, since it is urgent, the reward has to be massive. Lucinda asks where they are going, and he shows the ticket to Blackwood. Inside a cave, monster corpses are everywhere. Sir Julian shouts for everyone to get ready. The next wave is coming. The whole guild braces for battle as the beasts rush in. Julian shreds through them. Watch closely, because you and I are seeing mythic power in its purest, most devastating form. Even after all they kill, the waves keep coming. Lady Alara, his future queen, is there too, cutting through monsters beside him. Julian asks for a report, and she says the rear is clear. He tells everyone to use the break and rest. The team sits down. The leader asks how far the boss is, and someone says they should reach the door soon. Their speed is honestly impressive. Julian says even rank 6 knights had to retreat, so the boss must be absurdly strong. A teammate says it is a 10-meter monster. They might have had a chance fresh, but now everyone is completely drained. Julian praises them for the retreat. Then he gets up and says it is time to move because he wants to get home. He wants to finish fast. The group stops at a huge door, knowing the boss is right behind it. As it opens, Julian tells the shield bearers to go first. On the other side is a cavern even larger than before. The weird part is that it is empty. Everyone looks around, confused. They are sure this is the boss room, then drops land on Seraphina. She wonders why water is falling and looks up. Her face pales as she screams for everyone to run for their lives. Too late, a wave of purple liquid pours down. Julian calls out as several adventurers start getting dragged away into the dark. He turns on the guide and demands to know why the report was a lie. The man starts shaking, then tentacles burst from his mouth. He whispers that he brought everything his mother wanted. It was a trap. Above them hangs a giant jelly-like monster covered in eyes with tentacles reaching down. The scene shifts. Let's be real, you and I both know exactly whose life Alaric is actually walking into. It is no secret. We all know who he is after. Lucinda, annoyed, asks why she cannot come too. He tells her to be serious. This rift is the second biggest after the underworld. He knows she is upset, but he only has one helmet. Then he gets an idea and offers her gold, saying she can buy all the pastries she wants. Lucinda throws the money back at him and says she is not that easy to bribe. He shrugs and says that is too bad because it could buy 50 pieces of candy. Her face changes as she realizes the value. While she is thinking about it, he steps into the rift and reminds her to send away any strangers. A flash of light, and he is inside. It is a dark cave. He steps on something vile and wonders what it was. Then he spots a pile of dead monsters. Now he gets why the knights are in trouble. There are way too many of them. The bad news is he is in here too, and he has to fight through every single one. If he had his mechanical steed, this would be easy, but his gear is recharging. 10 seconds in, and he is out of options. The shop menu pops up, offering an emergency purchase. He gets excited, but then he sees that summoning his steed costs 100,000 marks. What kind of horse costs 1 billion crowns? Alaric rants until a voice startles him into buying the steed. Trust me, you and I are in for one hell of a ride. All right, you and I are about to see how a simple delivery turns into an absolute disaster when Lyra wastes 100,000 gold points just to follow Cedric. Cedric strictly forbade her from coming, but she is as stubborn as a mule. She just smiles and says she is already here anyway. Cedric starts a lecture when a blinding light erupts beside them. Lyra points it out, and just like that, their new iron steed materializes. But this is not his old junker. This is the latest, high-performance model. He is totally hyped, and not a moment too soon because a massive swarm of monsters is charging them. He throws Lyra on the back and blasts through the dungeon. Deep in the boss chamber, purple ooze keeps raining down. Alaric realizes this trap was the monster's plan from the very start. The tentacles have snared almost everyone except him. As he searches for an escape, a deadly strike whistles down from the shadows above. He dodges by a hair, answering with a whirlwind of steel. But the attacks are coming from everywhere, and his luck is running out fast. Fighting a boss anchored to the ceiling is a nightmare. This was definitely not in the briefing they received before entering the dungeon. If a monster that controls humans escapes this gate, the whole kingdom is finished. He cannot let this thing reach the surface world alive. It has to end right here. Inside a pulsing tentacle, Lady Alara hangs there, completely motionless. Suddenly, her eyes flare open, and she carves through the flesh with a brutal burst of slashes. Alaric is relieved she is alive. She claims she is fine, but admits she is hitting her limit. They have to drop this boss and save the rest of the party quickly. She charges in to draw its aggro, creating the perfect window. The boss lashes out with everything, but she dances through the chaos, driving her daggers home. That strike was the signal Alaric needed. He calls upon the god of war is ultimate power, Valerius is execution. Pure divine energy swirls and then explodes, drowning the boss in a massive, roaring pillar of celestial fire. He collapses, totally spent. That was a mythic tier skill. No monster should be able to walk away from a hit like that. It is the move that made him a legendary grandmaster, and it has never failed before. But today, luck is not on his side. If the boss died, Cedric would not need to save this fool, and that creepy eye would not still be glaring at them. The Grandmaster is in shock, but Arthur screams at him to move his legs and run before they are all killed. Now pay attention, because this is where everything falls apart. Instead of running, he just freezes, apologizing for not being strong enough while the boss prepares to finish them off. The massive eye glows, ready to vaporize him, when a mechanical steed suddenly smashes right through the center of the beast. Cedric just grins and tells them their delivery has arrived. Alaric and Arthur can only stare, completely stunned by the entrance. Cedric is actually fuming because his 100,000 gold bike is already covered in slime. But damn, he looks cool doing it. Through the dust and smoke, the knights are lost for words. Why is there a guy on a mechanical horse in a dungeon? Then a little girl steps out, mocking the monster his name. Lyra strikes a pose and calls herself the world is elite pilot. The veteran knights just blink at her, trying to figure out if this kid is actually serious or just insane. Lyra keeps the drama going, posing like a hero, and telling the knights not to be intimidated by her greatness. Suddenly, a monster mouth looms right behind her. She thinks her racing days are finally over, but Cedric lunges in, ripping the nasty creature out of a man's throat and asking what kind of messed up, disgusting people these are. The poor survivor, who is basically being eaten alive, immediately passes out right into Lyra's small arms. Cedric spots a glimmer and turns to see the boss is still kicking, even after taking a mechanical horse to the face. You and I both know what is coming. Cedric realizes this is the real deal, and he showed up just in time. He asks which one of these idiots is Alaric Vance. A battered Alaric raises his hand and says it is him. Cedric circles him like he is inspecting a package, checking for wounds and nodding. He tells him he looks familiar, then remembers seeing him back in the depths of the abyss. He never expected to bump into that famous night out here. Talk about a small world for a delivery man. Alaric screams at him to focus and kill the boss already, but Cedric just shrugs, asking what that has to do with him. He is just the delivery guy, not a soldier. Besides, his gear is cooling down, so he is pretty much useless in a fight. Arthur is disgusted, accusing him of playing games with people's lives while they are in the middle of a literal war. Cedric tells her to take a breath. He just thinks Alaric should be the one to finish what he started. Alaric thinks he has lost his mind since he is unarmed and exhausted. That is when Cedric pulls out a golden scroll. The delivery is finally here. He releases the sealed weapon of the war god, and a blinding, heavenly light fills every single corner of the boss room. Alaric's jaw drops as a legendary greatsword appears, the fabled blade of myth known to all as the ender of wars. Our boy just waves them off and walks away, saying his job is finally done. Alaric shouts after him, demanding to know who sent the sword and how a non-knight can even survive inside a dungeon. So what do you and I take from this? When the gods need a package delivered, they call the divine delivery man. Stick with me. Arthur hops on his mechanical steed and yells they will talk later, leaving Julian standing there utterly confused. Meanwhile, the beast begins charging another blast. With his back against the wall, Julian lunges for the blade, his final hope. The moment his fingers graze the hilt, crimson energy erupts, flooding his veins with power. Suddenly, his entire form shifts. Stick with me. We're about to witness Julian fully awaken into the mythic and divine form of the great war god. Now Julian is steady and focused. He readies his stance, whispering that for once, victory actually feels within his reach. He unleashes the divine spirit. The blade expands, wreathed in roaring flames that light up the dark. He swings with everything he's got. The beast counters with a massive beam, resulting in a legendary clash of titans. Julian might not be a hero from the ancient legends, but his strike still vaporizes the monster completely. The explosion carves a giant cross into the earth, illuminating the cave. Lady Lucilla can only watch in stunned silence. Now pay attention. Julian didn't just kill the beast. He blew the entire ceiling off the mountain as well, folks. If he stayed that strong, he'd be unstoppable. Lucilla catches the fainted knight, her mind racing about that mysterious messenger. Back in the capital, our boy is famished and searching for a warm meal. Even a divine messenger gets hungry. Meanwhile, the news reports that the rift at Havenbrook Port has been cleared. The heralds claim it was all thanks to the kingdom's finest knight, Sir Julian Sterling, or so they say. Resting in a healer's ward, Julian grumbles that his name is on everyone's lips. Deep down, he knows that without that messenger, he'd be dead. He looks away, lost in his thoughts. That man was no ordinary person, especially given those divine artifacts. Suddenly, someone comes rushing frantically down the hallway. Derek barges in, yelling for his master and asking if he is all right, but then mutters that the knight does not even look hurt. He gets hyped up, claiming he heard rumors that the young knight absolutely demolished the high demon. Third strongest for a reason. He asks about the crimson blade and where the old one went. Julian simply says it broke. Derek is horrified. That sword cost 100 billion gold, so how could it possibly break like that? You and I saw how powerful that sword was, but Julian insists this new one from the messenger is even more incredible. Who knows what's going through his head, but Julian tells Derek he needs a massive favor. Knowing the messenger's identity, he wants Derek to find his home address because the knight wishes to recruit him into the order. The scene moves to Valerius' sanctum. The war god grins, knowing the messenger must have finished the job. Arthur confirms it went perfectly and the knight is still breathing. No need to worry. Valerius relaxes, unsurprised by the boy's skill. He gestures for him to follow, promising a great reward. The boy just smirks, knowing better than to fall for a trick from the biggest troublemaker in all of Celestia. Lucilla warns him to show respect, as this man is a prince of Celestia. Arthur finally remembers the hierarchy. True, he is literal royalty. As they navigate the Grand Temple, our boy takes in the sights. Valerius stops, ordering Lucilla to stay behind. Only Arthur is allowed through, and he just waves her off. They walk deeper into the holy halls, until Arthur looks up in absolute shock. The massive gate ahead weighs 3 tons. Arthur asks how to open this giant, ancient-looking door, and Valerius just pushes it open easily. Beyond the gate lies a staggering mountain of ancient gold and jewels. Every coin here belongs to the heir of Celestia, the god of war himself, Lord Valerius. Arthur immediately asks for the total value and if he can take something. Valerius surprisingly agrees. The god kneels, claiming he has something special, and retrieves a glowing golden chest. Arthur asks about the box, but even Valerius doesn't know. The boy wonders why he's even getting it then. Valerius says it's a rare relic, surely not useless, even if he hasn't unraveled its secrets yet. After all, a higher deity of Celestia called it one of their most precious belongings. He's curious too, convinced it's a great reward, but judging by Arthur's face, the gift does not look very promising at all. He calls it garbage, but when he opens the box, he pulls out a small wooden stick instead. Maybe it's a joke item that becomes legendary later. Suddenly, out at sea, a sailor screams of a problem. They have stumbled into a nest of sirens, and trust me, that's a massive problem. Jasper is trapped by their song, but you and I are heading back to see Arthur smacking the god with his stick. All right, you and I are back, and things are a total mess as our hero finally wakes up. He feels absolutely wrecked after that long sleep. After getting that weird wooden rod from Duke Warwick, he collapsed at home. Now he's awake, watching Lucy mumble about sweets in her sleep. He tries to wake the girl up, but stops. He realizes she is probably just as worn out as him. He tucks her in gently before heading out. At a nearby shop, he grabs an energy potion and some snacks, thanks the clerk, then spots a poster. A big flyer announces the Knight's Guild exam starts in 3 days. He never wanted to be a knight, but hiding his face while raiding dungeons is becoming nearly impossible lately. Maybe it is finally time to join. Back home, Lucy begs for sweets, but a glowing system notification pops up right in his face. It is an urgent message from Master Blackwood. He tells Lucy the snacks will have to wait for later. On his iron steed, he reaches the scorching forge and greets the master dwarf. The smith is shocked he is so fast, and Arthur asks what is up. The dwarf says everyone is talking about how you saved Lord Alistair's leg and helped the entire guild. Arthur feels awkward, since he didn't think word would travel so fast, and just brushes it off as luck. He asks about the job, and the dwarf looks back. A tall man walks up just as Blackwood says perfect timing. Lucy is completely shocked when she sees his face, while Arthur, as usual, has no clue who he is. This guy is a legend at sea deliveries. Meet Captain Jasper of the Golden Galley. Now pay attention, because neither Arthur nor us had a clue who he was. I checked the lore, and yeah, he is a legendary hero from the ancient sagas. It is confusing, but apparently mythic heroes exist here. You know the type. He introduces himself and tells our boy he can call him the Great Adventurer. Basically, Jasper leads the Argonauts, a legendary crew filled with the world's most famous travelers and heroes. He thanks Arthur for healing his old man's leg. Then he asks to talk business, and Arthur says, sure. That is when Jasper explains his fleet is in big trouble. A swarm of sirens appeared on their route, and nobody can pass. Normally, their bard Orpheus would handle them, but he is away on a long quest, leaving the entire crew totally helpless. That is exactly why Jasper came seeking the rumors about the legendary miracle courier, Sir Arthur Lee. Arthur asks if he really wants him to fight sirens. Jasper says yes. Our boy is confused. Is he a courier or a slayer? Why does everyone want him to slay monsters? Jasper tells him not to say no just yet. Once he hears the reward, he will change his tune. The job pays 500,000 gold, and Arthur is suddenly very interested. Then Blackwood reminds him that sirens live in the ocean, which is tough when your only ride is an iron horse. Arthur is so thrown off, he completely forgot that sirens actually live in the middle of the sea. Arthur tells him not to worry, he has a spell for that. Soon, they are on a ship heading toward the Siren Shoals. Jasper points to the islands ahead, and Arthur says he will handle it. Jasper thanks him and promises a boat will return later. Arthur leaps off and calls for Lucy. Now, you and I both saw that bike start up. Is that thing actually riding on water? Not exactly. Blackwood enchanted his helmet with sea magic, letting the iron horse ride right across the waves. But Lucy warns him he has no clue what sirens are. He is picturing beautiful mermaids, but Lucy says their songs are actually a death sentence. Even the legendary Ulysses had to block his ears to pass. A small pack of them can even bring down a kraken. Arthur tells her not to worry. When monsters get violent, the best answer is to just beat them senseless. The sirens notice a human and a nymph coming and start whispering. They dive under the water, ready to tear him apart. Meanwhile, our boy keeps charging forward. Then Lucy shouts a warning just as a massive beast erupts from the deep, jaws wide. Before it can bite, Arthur smashes it in the face with that wooden rod. He remembers Warwick saying a gift from the king was powerful. He asks the siren how it feels to get clobbered by a +99 enchanted wooden branch. The siren just blinks at him, totally unfazed. She says it felt like being tapped with a soft pool noodle. That is when Arthur realizes Duke Warwick scammed him. The rod is junk. Later, the sirens search the waves, wondering where they went. Hiding behind a rock with Lucy's cloak active, he asks what she can see. She says the monsters went the other way, so they are safe, but right in front of them is the siren's lair. He remembers Jasper saying the smartest path isn't fighting them all, but killing the queen. Once she falls, the others lose their power. Lucy says that is suicide, especially with that useless branch. Arthur grips it, wanting to punch Warwick, but he still has one more trick, the magic shop. Money buys victory. That lightning orb cost 150,000 gold, about $1.5 million. Absolute fortune. Inside, the queen celebrates, but you and I know she is finished. Stick with me, we're watching a siren go 10 days hungry while her queen denies a hunt. Seems Lyra the Bard isn't around this time. A golden chance like this won't come again. They'll wait for a massive merchant ship to drift by before launching their deadly ambush. She orders patience, promising a royal feast is heading their way, and Alaric is eavesdropping on every single word. He's horrified she's planning a total massacre of innocents. Ilara points out the obvious. They're clearly targeting Julian's crew specifically. Suddenly, Alaric asks if she remembers that legendary roasted boar they had. She chirps back that it was absolutely divine. He promises if she follows the plan, he'll buy her the royal feast version. She immediately perks up, ready for action. He leans in and whispers the secret plan to her. She warns it's risky, but he hands her the magic helm and says he's counting on her. He trusts her, and she flies off. With the helm gone, his invisibility fades, and the sirens spot him. He starts yelling at them, calling them nothing but stupid fish. Now watch this. The dangerous beauties turn around in shock. They demand to know how a human dared enter their sacred temple. He turns around, smacks his own backside, and dares them to strike. The queen is furious and orders his immediate capture. The monsters swarm him as he runs for his life. Without the helm, his water breathing is seconds away from failing him. Right then, he signals Ilara, who is clutching the powerful divine orb on his back. He triggers it and clears his throat. That single-use artifact literally blows the entire temple to pieces. The sirens are buried under tons of rubble as the temple collapses. He only wanted the queen, but he had to wipe them all out. At least Julian's route is safe now. Ilara appears to congratulate him, but something feels very wrong to Alaric. If the queen is truly dead, why hasn't his reward appeared? Suddenly, a monster bursts from the wreckage and grabs Ilara. The queen demands an explanation for this chaos. She screams that she can no longer hear her daughter's voices anymore. You feel that too. Ilara is about to be eaten. Alaric kicks his armor into second gear and charges. He slams the queen across her face and yells for her to let Ilara go. The impact sends her spinning through the water. Our hero is stunned by this new power, but the queen vanishes. He looks around frantically before she appears beside him and grabs his leg. Yeah, this is bad. She drags him into the abyss, swearing to pull him down until his lungs finally give out. Alaric thinks this might be it. He just bought his first manor and still has so many gold sovereigns left to spend. He refuses to drown like a coward. It's time to end this boss. His great club hits 100% power. He smashes it into her skull, leaving her dazed, before unleashing a brutal combo straight to her hideous face. The beating illuminates the dark ocean, and Ilara is shocked to see him still standing strong. With his giant club in hand, he declares justice served. Later at a local tavern, Ilara is eating like a queen. She says the gourmet food is incredible. He smiles, happy she's satisfied. From now on, she just needs to ask for whatever she wants. He'll cover every bill. He knows things got dicey, but thanks to Ilara, they survived and crushed those sirens. Of course, he makes sure to brag about his own hits on the queen. Then he tells her to keep enjoying her feast. She earned it. He now has over 600,000 gold sovereigns, basically worth 6 million coins. Even after spending a fortune on Zeus power, he still made a massive profit. Now he's actually interested in the knight's trials. Ilara asks what that is, so he jokes it's just fried meat and tells her to dip it in sauce. While they feast, she says it's delicious. He tells her the whole platter is hers to finish. Too lazy for dipping, she just pours all the sauce over the meat. He immediately bonks her for having zero manners. Later, they return home completely exhausted. She ate a mountain of food, and he tells her she went way too far. He's been working way too hard and considers a vacation. But then the bell rings and a voice calls his name. He drags himself to the door. Outside stands a masked stranger in a heavy cloak asking for Alaric Lee. He instantly thinks it's a creep and slams the door, shouting he's not buying anything. The stranger keeps shouting through the wood. What kind of salesman knows his full name? Alara asks who it is, and he says some annoying traveler. Outside, the man keeps pounding on the door, shouting that he knows Alaric is the sacred messenger. Now he's in real trouble. He opens the door to see Sionjin holding a massive blade. Alaric asks why he's here, and Sionjin keeps it simple. He wants to recruit him into the Silver Phoenix Guild. At a cafe, Sionjin hands him a gift for his help last time. Alaric takes it, and his balance jumps by 500,000. Trust me, you and I wouldn't turn down that kind of cash. Smugly, he says there was no need for such a massive reward. All right, you and I are about to see a deal worth 200,000 gold up front, plus 300,000 a year with bonuses. Captain Cedric asks for Arthur's thoughts. No knight would refuse that much coin. Back at the infirmary, Sir Julian revealed Arthur was not even a real knight. He did not have a license. Even so, he survived the abyss, crushed the 8 vanguard, and somehow got pulled into another rift. That is pure skill. Licensed or not, recruiting him would make the order legendary. Cedric is fired up, but our boy just apologizes and refuses. Cedric is ready to celebrate until Arthur shakes his head and says he is going to decline the offer. The man was already acting like it was a done deal, but Arthur tells him once more, no deal. Outside, Cedric desperately offers to change the price, but Arthur says he will never join an order. What could be better than that? He holds up his device and says the answer is simple, making deliveries. As he accepts a request, a flash blinds Cedric and Arthur vanishes. Next, they are on a mountain where Lucy says he should rest. Sweating hard, he says that was the original plan. He did not expect the client to be on a mountain peak. Usually, requests teleport him right to them, but he got dropped at the bottom. He blames Cedric for wasting his time with that guild nonsense when he clearly never wanted in. He has magic suits, but no real powers, and deliveries pay way better than being a knight anyway. So Cedric can forget it. After a long trek, they finally reach the summit. They are both exhausted when Arthur's face goes serious. Before them are massive black slimes covered in eyes. He wonders what this freak is, and Lucy says she has no clue either. He steps on one and feels that dungeon energy. He asks if she knows any mythic creature like this, but she does not. Now pay attention, the ground starts shaking. A monster rises behind him, and he thinks it is all over. Then a golden warrior rushes in and blows it apart with one punch. The man grumbles about being too old for this. The scarred man sighs that his body is getting stiff, then speaks into his stone, saying he has heard about the kid. Arthur is shocked by the legend standing there, and wonders if this mighty warrior is actually the client. He asks Lucy who the guy is, and she says of course she knows. He is the hero who finished the 12 trials of Queen Alara and saved the gods, Sir Alaric the Mighty. Shyly, the hero says those old stories embarrass him. Arthur then realizes this is the man who shot Master Silas. Alaric asks if he was the one who healed Master Silas. Arthur awkwardly says the Serpent King did the work. Alaric slaps his back, nearly crushing his armor, and says he is still grateful. He confirms Lucy was right. He is Alaric, a demigod of old who now protects High Avalon. Our duo just quickly give their names. Alaric explains he called them because he needs help. He points to a dark cave and tells them to look. During the last war, that cave became a gateway for monsters to invade the divine realm. Lately, strange tentacle beasts have been crawling out, and he has never seen anything like them. They might be from another world. You and I both know this is tied to that dungeon monster. Alaric says the job is simple, find their source. Right then, a quest pops up with a 24-hour limit. If he fails, he loses 200,000 coins. What? But one look at Alaric's massive muscles, and he quickly says he will solve it as fast as possible. Alaric says he is exactly like his wife Abigail described. That reminds him that Lady Abigail was the very first person he ever delivered to. These legends are all weirdly connected. Then the system says it will guide him, but the map looks wrong. He stares at a cliff and asks how to go up. Alaric grabs him and says not to worry, he will get him there fast. Before Arthur can answer, he's already airborne. Back at the guild, Sir Julian rushes in calling for Lord Cedric. The leader tells him to show some respect, but Julian immediately asks about Arthur. Cedric says it was a total rejection. Julian thinks that is strange, since the gold would change any man's life. But Cedric says the guy literally vanished. Julian thinks that's a weak excuse. After all, Arthur appeared in that rift the same way. Even Lord Valerius himself confirmed he had delivered that divine weapon. Cedric vows he will try to recruit the boy again. Meanwhile, Arthur is just relaxing and playing some games. And trust me, you and I are going to want to see what happens when he uses that new sword. All right, you and I are watching a noble's plan to hire a kid fail miserably. Arthur mentions a new rumor. A wealthy collector from the Eastern Isles wants the blade. The Lord orders the shipment prepared. Lately, high-value relics are getting raided by bandits during transit. That legendary sword is far too precious to lose to some common highwaymen. He needs an escort and remembers the boy works as a courier. With a grin, he realizes he has a perfect plan. Back with our hero, Alaric literally hurls him into a deep canyon. Arthur is spinning out, wondering why he got launched. His magical system pings. He's close. Terrified of becoming a pancake, he summons his enchanted iron steed while still falling. Gripping the handles of Duke, he dives straight down and slams into the earth. Dust clears, but the bike's insane magic enchantments keep him alive. He knows that's the only reason they're breathing. Alaric almost got them killed. He wakes Lyra, who fainted, telling her they survived. But now, he has no idea what he's actually supposed to find. He starts grumbling about hunting for an item that doesn't even have a name. Now watch this. A massive foot crushes him, and Lyra clings on as the entire world starts shaking. This earthquake feels exactly like their last monster encounter. Then, a booming voice echoes, speaking the name of Lord Alaric. Turning around, he spots a figure hauling a massive weight. If the legends are true, this is the Colossus. The Titan towers over them. Arthur can't believe a giant lives here. The Colossus asks if he knows that arrogant Alaric. Crushing under the giant's presence, the boy explains Alaric sent him here to scout out the area's dangers. At the mention of monsters, the Colossus laughs. Holding a glowing orb, he mocks Alaric for sending a mere human to help. Arthur needs answers. Why is a giant hiding underground, and what is the deal with that glowing massive sphere? He bravely asks if the Colossus knows what's going on. The giant scoffs, claiming he has zero reason to help Alaric. He whispers to Lyra about the giant's rage, and she's shocked he doesn't know the history between them. This is the Colossus, cursed to carry the heavens after the Great War. That punishment came from the king, Alaric's own father. So yeah, that grudge is deep. Arthur wishes Alaric had mentioned this ancient family drama before throwing him down here. The Colossus asks if they're finished whispering. Arthur is stunned, those giant ears caught every single word. And trust me, Arthur is stuck in a massive god-tier disaster when he only ever wanted to make a simple delivery. For some insane reason, he tries acting cute, asking if the Colossus could ever say no to such a face. The giant tells him to be quiet before he's squashed, but Arthur insists he isn't asking for a free favor. If the giant tells the truth, Arthur will return the favor. The Colossus pauses, while Lyra screams that he's being totally reckless. The giant laughs at the absurdity. No tiny human could ever do a favor for an immortal titan. But our hero says he might be surprised. The giant agrees, impressed by the kid's guts, and demands a golden apple. If he returns with the fruit alive, he'll finally learn what the slime monsters are planning for this kingdom. Lyra immediately protests, saying it's a death trap. Golden apples are basically legends and impossible to find. They only grow in the Primal One's garden as gifts for kings. Before she can panic more, Arthur covers her mouth. He asks the giant if that's really all. Remembering the Colossus is a titan, not a god, Arthur waits for his word. But our boy pushes his luck, telling the giant to swear by the river of shadows. Breaking that oath means losing all power. The Colossus smirks, offering his massive pinky finger, clearly impressed by the boy's knowledge. He agrees and swears the oath. Arthur pulls out his magical device, whispering that there is no going back now. Since the apple only costs 1,000 points in the system shop, the giant is doomed. He buys it instantly. Holding the shimmering fruit up, he says, "Here is your order delivered." The giant stares, completely stunned by this brat's magic. Meanwhile, outside, purple slimes are swarming over everything in sight. Alaric is busy smashing slimes, wondering why the courier is taking so long. Then he realizes, did he mention the giant? He shrugs it off, but suddenly a bright blue flash erupts in the distance. Someone is coming in hot. It's Arthur, soaring through the sky on his bike as his armor fuses with the machine. He arrives with such speed that Alaric starts to cheer, right until a bike wheel slams into his face. Yeah, he just ran over a hero. He stands there awkwardly, but honestly. That probably felt great after being tossed. Later, he is on the ground, apologizing and claiming it was just an accident. So what do you and I take from this? Even a hero's face hurts when a bike hits it. All right, stick with me because Sir Cedric insists he is fine even while broken, but he thinks Alistair returned way too fast. That trip seemed like a total waste of time. Cedric is certain the Titan King is still fuming over those stolen golden apples. Honestly, it was a pretty low blow to rob the guy while he was stuck holding up the entire sky. Cedric claims he won't punish Alistair since he at least tried, until our boy casually mentions that the Titan King told him everything. The knight does not believe it at first. Then Alistair pulls a golden apple from behind him, saying that was the bribe. We jump back to the cave, the exact moment Alistair reveals the prize to the ancient giant. The Titan King was absolutely stunned, demanding to know how a mere human got his hands on a fruit from the merchant vault. The giant demands the fruit, but Alistair refuses. He is not getting scammed, so the Titan has to talk first. The ancient giant argues that was not the deal, but Alistair just raises the apple like he is going to bite it. You and I both saw that coming, right? Alistair got the info, proving he is not normal and impressing the knight. The problem is that his shameless attitude reminds Cedric way too much of his own younger, more reckless self. Finally, he tells the boy to share the info. Alistair admits the Titan King spoke in riddles, so he is still confused. He repeats the warning. The land will split into 7 parts, and blue flames will erupt across the world. Cedric starts sweating immediately. This is far worse than anything he had originally feared. Just as he suspected, these creatures came from another world. Now he remembers the ancient truth he wanted to forget. Alistair is one of the few who can cross worlds, and somehow fate put an ordinary nymph right by his side. To him, the 3 goddesses of fate are as cruel as they are beautiful for placing this burden on a boy. Now even I am curious. Then our boy holds out his hand, and Cedric asks what he finally wants from him. Alistair says it should be obvious. The delivery is finished, and now it is time for him to get paid. Later, while Cedric rests on a pile of dead monsters, a mysterious figure appears and asks for his opinion on the boy. It is Lord Julian, waving as he mentions he arrived just after the 2 of them had already departed. Cedric speaks with deep respect, but Julian tells him to stop. Still, the big guy cannot treat a god so casually. Julian helped him through the 12 trials. He also warns Cedric to stop ignoring Lord Valerius, but Cedric just shrugs. That guy always picks fights and shows 0 respect, so Cedric simply stopped speaking to him altogether. Julian laughs, saying Cedric is terrible at making friends, then asks if things are still tense with the Titan King. Cedric immediately snaps that there is no way he is going back down there to apologize to that old bastard. Julian asks if the prophecy matches. Cedric confirms the riddle of the splitting land and fire fits the ancient text perfectly. Lord Julian raises his staff, ready to leave, while saying they need to begin preparing immediately. He says he will go warn the other lords, but Cedric tells him not to even bother. He says the kid is tied to this fate, but Julian just grins. Delivering those kinds of messages is his specialty. Julian takes off, leaving Cedric to power up and face the monsters, declaring it is finally time to end them. Back with Alistair, Luciana is dead to the world. Our boy just yanks the blanket right off her. She sits up groggily, begging for 5 more minutes. He tells her to move because they have to leave now. Still half asleep, she asks where they are going so early. He reminds her the night trials are today. She remembers him mentioning it, but has no idea what it actually is. He calls her an idiot for coming along. Meanwhile, he has already packed everything. His registration card, supplies, and his trusty wooden bat. Luciana appears with hair as messy as a kitchen broom. He throws on a cap and tells her to hurry. At the guild, they see flashy warriors while Alistair looks ordinary. But under that simple hoodie, the sneaky guy came prepared for anything. A man with a booming voice announces the trials have begun, calling the first numbers forward to face 3 vicious goblins. The goblins rush in, and he cuts one clean in half. Alistair thinks 3 goblins is a total joke. Any normal person could pass that. He realizes the test is not about killing, but showing off your skill. They call out number 38, and Alistair steps into the arena. He plans to pass the test quietly without catching attention. But the moment his enchanted suit activates, a red-haired recruiter in the stands immediately takes notice of him. She is the dangerous woman from the rival guild, and trust me, you and I need to see what happens next. All right, stick with me as we watch this guy crush goblins barehanded while the crowd goes wild. But a big guy snacking on chips says raw power isn't enough for a true knight of the guild. The blonde lady agrees, thinking the real star hasn't shown up yet, while a fiery redhead tells them both to be quiet since these rookies aren't even worthy of a minor house. That is Julia, the same noblewoman who sparked total chaos within the Crimson Talon Order. Absolutely wild, she slaughtered knights and leveled everything, but now she's here calmly judging new recruits. She's really wondering how her life ended up like this. Not long ago, Crimson Talon was the kingdom's 2nd strongest house, and with that crest tattooed on her, she held massive power. But after the scandal with the Shadow Council, the house lost its support, leaving her scouting for at least one decent knight. Now pay attention. Candidate 38 gets called while Leo cheers, and our main guy stands there looking awkward. He wants to pass the trial, but standing out only makes a knight's life way more difficult. Goblins rush him while he's trying to stay low, but his enchanted armor reacts, helping him dodge just in time. He realizes these monsters are way slower than the sirens he faced before, and he could dodge them without magic. The redhead watches closely, noting that candidate 38 moves in a very strange way, feeling like she has met him before. He hasn't even thrown a strike yet, just dodging with total ease. Finally, he decides to throw a single punch, just enough to end things quietly, but the second his fist connects, the goblin literally turns to dust right there. She instantly realizes who he is, the exact man she was looking for. Later on, he's congratulated and handed his knight's badge, having earned the 3rd highest score in the kingdom's history. They say he is destined to become a legendary knight and congratulate him again, but Arthur thinks this was way too easy. Leo runs over praising his performance and says it's time to celebrate with some roasted pork at the tavern. Suddenly, someone interrupts them. A noblewoman politely introduces herself and says it is truly a pleasure to meet him. You and I both know she's bad news, and Arthur recognizes this red-haired, red-eyed woman from the Crimson Talon house immediately. She admits his skill impressed her and begins asking him to join the Crimson Talons, but he just walks right past her, totally uninterested. Stunned, she calls for him to wait, but he simply thanks her and says he has no plans to join any house. She refuses to let him go, offering 5 million gold plus a bonus, desperately hoping a knight like him can restore her house to glory. Arthur stares for a second, and she thinks she has finally won him over. He repeats the amount, and she confirms it, certain that this will finally win him over. Instead, he looks at her like she's clueless, asking if the crimson talons are really that broke, while Leo calls them cheap. He keeps walking while she yells that he won't find a better offer, but Arthur calmly says he already has before dropping a bomb. House Sterling offered 20 million gold, leaving her frozen and crushed as he walks away. Later on, he and Leo reach a tavern where the crystal broadcast is already buzzing about the kingdom's promising new night. He's shocked. It's only been an hour since the test, and he is already all over the daily news. He tells Leo to order and calls for service, but before he can even blink, the food is served at their table. It's Lord Sterling, claiming the service is excellent, while Arthur sighs and asks if the man plans to keep following him. Sterling insists it's just a coincidence that they met, but our main character cuts him off, knowing this is about joining his house. The answer is no. Sterling tries bringing up the recent night's exam. But Arthur shuts him down again, explaining that he only wants a quiet life, so joining a house and getting more attention is the last thing he wants. Then Sterling says he has it all wrong. This isn't about recruitment. He wants to hire him as a divine courier. He explains that a sacred relic must be delivered to the Eastern Isles within the next 2 days. The problem is that dangerous women have been raiding the shipments, though Arthur admits that delivery is his true specialty. Still, he gives him a sharp look and says the pay better be high, and Sterling promises the offer will satisfy him. Seeing the number 2, Arthur assumes it means 200,000, but Sterling corrects him. It is actually 2 million. Arthur immediately slams his face on the table, promising a flawless delivery, while Leo keeps eating and Sterling says he fully trusts his skills. The scene cuts to a dark room, where a girl sitting on the floor waits for someone to just give the order. Hermes? Yeah, this feels shady. In the next scene, we see them standing aboard a massive cargo ship. Leo is totally blown away, and you and I can't blame him. Nobody expects to end up on a ship owned by the Eternal House. All right, you and I are diving into a high-stakes escort mission. Arthur is stopped by guards demanding to see his identification. He nonchalantly flashes a black crest, claiming he is with the Eternal Order. Seeing the royal seal, the guard immediately bows and lets him through. Walking through the massive vessel, Lucian remarks on its size, though she claims House of Argus has even bigger ships. Arthur laughs at her pride in the citadel. Soon, they reach a massive vault door sealed with a heavy security lock. The legendary sword must be inside. It stands out like a sore thumb, but once the doors open, Arthur sees why they didn't hide it. The blade is locked behind thick bars, heavy chains, and every magical security measure known to the kingdom. It feels strange. He wonders who would be crazy enough to even try stealing something this heavily guarded. Lucian looks stunned, so he asks if she recognizes the weapon. She does. It is Durandal, the Blade of Legend. Arthur admits she knows her history, but shuts her down before she can brag. He gets it. She is some special spirit or whatever. Lucian asks for the plan, and he says they stay put until the sword is delivered safely to the capital. It is boring work, but he cannot risk losing 2 billion gold. It sounds like a lot, but this legendary sword is worth far more. Suddenly, a loud horn echoes. The massive ship is finally pulling out of the harbor. Right then, a strange gas begins filling the room. Outside, the armored sentries remain eerily calm. The gas hits the guards, and they collapse instantly. Now, anyone could just walk in and take their weapons. Now pay attention. Here comes the thief we've been waiting for. She cheers, claiming that Phase 1 is a total success. Inside the vault, our hero is already out cold. Then, flick, a sharp finger snap hits him right in the forehead. Lucian wakes him up and he jumps back, shocked he was knocked out so easily. She says a sleeping gas has put everyone to sleep. He covers his nose immediately, realizing it was a knockout trap. His first priority, checking the sword. Luckily, it is still there. But it's weird. His enchanted suit should have protected him from any poison gas. The thief must have used a divine power. He opens the door and finds a woman standing there, hands folded in prayer. She is literally asking the gods for the strength to be an honest thief tonight. Arthur can tell she is absolutely ridiculous. Without wasting a second, he opens his system menu. Buying the right item would end this quickly, but then the thief moves. A green flash cuts through the air. A magical rope wraps around her arm, and she instantly realizes something is wrong. It binds her like a spider's web. When she looks back, Arthur casually tells her he has caught a little rat. The item he bought was the rope of Rakan, a powerful binding tool that only breaks under extreme pressure. Now the thief is crying, asking how he is still awake when her god provided the gas. He bonks her on the head and tells her to shut it. The girl insists she is not a common thief and begs him to let her explain why she needs the holy sword. But Arthur just smirks, telling her he is not that stupid. She is clearly here to rob the Eternal Order. She admits she's a thief, but only steals what must be stolen. She claims it is all for the greater good. I know what you're thinking. She's trying the Robin Hood defense. Yep, she says she only takes from the rich to give to the poor who truly have nothing. Neither Arthur nor Lucien believes her pathetic story. He tells her she's delusional, and Lucien adds that older people can be weird. Suddenly, the girl screams that she is telling the truth. The god Hermes sent her to recover these artifacts, so they can be returned to their rightful owners before the darkness arrives. Arthur is caught off guard, while Lucien wonders if this girl truly is an emissary of the gods. Arthur is surprised while Lucien says she might really be an emissary. He thinks she looks way too sloppy for the job, but tells her to explain these so-called threats. Suddenly, she spits a glowing orb from her mouth. She says she didn't want to use this, but he forced her hand. She glares at him, warning him that he will pay for interfering with her mission today. Purple smoke erupts across the ship, and when it clears, she is gone. Swimming away, she complains about how much that potion cost. What she used was an astral elixir, allowing her to take a ghost-like form. That is all. She swears she will get revenge on that jerk in the tight suit. Her name is Selene Cross. She reaches the shore muttering that it was a narrow escape, and now her expensive elixir is totally gone. Even then, she's still cursing him and promising to wipe that smug look off his face. Then a magic message appears asking for a status report. She thanks Hermes and tells him it was close, but she successfully retrieved the item he requested. She stole the Ring of Dissipation, a legendary artifact from the tales of King Arthur. Hermes asks what went wrong. And trust me, you and I are going to want to see what happens when the god demands to know who resisted him. All right, you and I are about to watch a knight in strange armor use a magical golden rope to bind his captive. Immediately, Lord Harold recognizes the description and asks if a young girl accompanied him. She confirms seeing a child with hair like the summer sky. She has stunned the Lord guest so easily. This mysterious knight must be someone truly vital. Then, Sir Alistair bursts out laughing at the coincidence. He tells her to stay calm because that man was chosen. She relaxes, relieved to find that they are actually allies. But then she pauses, making a solemn vow. Since their paths will cross again, she will personally teach him some proper manners. Meanwhile, Arthur collects his 2 million gold crowns. Just as the guild feared, one chaotic stranger ruined the entire operation. The Holy Blade reached the Eastern Kingdom safely, meaning Arthur's difficult task was finally over. With his estate finally paid off, he decides to visit the Master Forge. It had been months since their last meeting. He also needs to know how to use that wyvern scale he looted. Arriving at the workshop, Arthur knocks loudly. The forge is dark and the master is missing. Pay attention, because as Lucy suggests leaving, a mysterious voice calls out. Arthur spins around, nearly jumping out of his skin. It is the master, but his expression warns that a dangerous guest is visiting. The smith points to a radiant woman, calling her the kingdom's divine messenger. She smiles gracefully. He reveals she is Lady Freya, commander of the Valkyries, the legendary witch who once taught the High King himself. But our hero gets the completely wrong idea, assuming his friend is being unfaithful to his wife with this lady. He grabs the master's collar, asking if he thinks he's some legendary playboy. Lord Harold quickly explains she's just an important client. The lady laughs, amused that Arthur would ever assume she would have an affair with a dusty old blacksmith. The master remains calm, while Arthur grovels on the floor in apology. Once the dust settles, they finally get down to business. He needs Arthur to deliver a sealed scroll. The mission is to find the Lord of the Shadow Realm and investigate rumors. He has 5 days and will earn 500,000 merit points. Arthur is confused, but Lucy starts shaking in fear. You and I both know Arthur loves gold, but even he has to realize this mission is purely suicidal, right? Now that he's wealthy, Arthur doesn't want to gamble with his life. Why die when his vaults are overflowing with gold? He could retire today and live like a lord with Lucy. The master warns the Shadow Realm is too deadly, but Arthur interrupts. No, he's definitely taking the contract. There is no way he's walking away from that much gold. He boasts that he'll handle it perfectly. Lucy kicks him for being so greedy. Soon, they are already traveling through the misty mountains. Arthur races across the desolate territory on his magic steed, and the whole atmosphere feels heavy. It makes perfect sense. This is the land of spirits. Lucy claims he only accepted because he's ignorant of how brutal these ancient myths truly are. He tells her she used to be much more silent and should try it again. She snaps that he is the one at fault. Every quest with him drains a year of her life. Legend says the Great Hall is for those who die in glorious battle. The Shadow Realm is for commoners and the disgraced. Honestly, it's no wonder every knight wants to die fighting. It's either paradise or a nightmare. He remembers Lady Freya said she had spies in the shadows, so it should be fine. He tells Lucy to just relax. Honestly, his confidence only makes her feel even more suspicious. 10 minutes from their destination, they cross a narrow stone bridge. Suddenly, something feels very wrong. His chest begins to tighten. The air turns frigid, freezing his very soul. Lucy gasps that she cannot move, and he realizes he is paralyzed as well. Then a voice echoes nearby. Remarkable, a living soul crossing the bridge of shadows. Yes, it is another powerful woman. The giantess stares them down, sensing something strange. The girl smells of life, but the boy, he has already tasted death once. He freezes, asking her to repeat that impossible claim. And just like that, we are pulled into a tragic memory. He's galloping through a storm, knowing that making deliveries in this weather is just asking for a total disaster. But his landlord is demanding the rent, threatening to throw him out. He has no choice but to work. Then a carriage swerves. He veers onto the path, barely avoiding a collision. He's ready to scream until he sees his precious cargo scattered across the mud. Now he's in even deeper trouble, because he will have to pay for the broken goods out of his own pocket. As he checks his messages, a loud horn blares through the rain. A massive iron wagon driver doesn't even see him. And just like that, Arthur Lee dies at 27. For some reason, they even used a terrible photo at his funeral. Back in the present, he mutters that this lady is trying to kill him with shock. She claims he smells like rot. So pretending he never died is absurd. Lucy suggests the stench of the abyss might have clung to him during his journey. Like sea nymphs smelling of salt, those who visit the abyss always carry the scent of death. Wild, right? All right, stick with me as Alistair enters the abyss, a land of shadows where even his own scent vanishes. Then he recalls a beast claiming he reeked of spirits. The mysterious woman confirms that makes perfect sense. She speaks of a mortal who ventured deep into the abyss to meet the Death Lord. If true, he should know exactly who she is, the legendary Bridge Guardian. He is clueless, still wondering if his visions were real. But Lyra, she knows exactly who stands before them. There is only one knight known for such relentless fury. She whispers that this woman must be Malachor. Malachor nods, impressed, then demands their purpose. Lyra explains they carry a royal missive from Lady Alara to the Shadow Queen. The moment Alara's name is spoken, Malachor softens. For the lady's sake, they are granted safe passage. Alistair bolts before she can change her mind. Watching them leave, 𝑩𝒆𝒄𝒂𝒎𝒆 finds it strange that the lady sent a mere mortal and a tiny nymph. These two are charging into a brutal realm. He accelerates toward the waste, but the cold becomes absolutely soul-crushing. The kind of frost that shatters bone. Lyra sneezes right on him. He glares, totally annoyed that Alara never mentioned winter gear. Lyra suddenly remembers the waste is freezing because the dead have no heat. He asks why she kept that quiet. She just shrugs, claiming she can't remember every little detail. Does he remember every school lesson? She tells him to shut up and buy gear from the system shop. Grumbling, he opens the market. A direwolf fur cloak costs a massive 200,000 marks. It offers supreme warmth, but he's fuming since his iron steed only cost 100,000. In this cold, he has no choice. He buys it, losing 200,000 marks. He still has 600,000 left. Donning the fur, he vows to earn 500,000 marks back. Then he notices Lyra is tucked inside the cloak too, grinning ear to ear. He didn't think it would cover her. It must be an aura effect that shields anyone nearby from the frost. Seconds later, he floors the steed, determined to finish this quest now that the freezing wind can't touch him. But the storm is relentless, and it's only getting worse. The cloak keeps him warm, but the mechanical horse is stalling. Worse, his arcane map flickers out. They find shelter behind a massive crag, and Lyra warns they might get buried. He tells her to stop being so dramatic. He only stopped to see if his signal would return. Alistair is literally obsessed with this delivery. He has 41 hours left, but the map shows they will barely make it if anything else goes wrong. Lyra asks if he's dumb enough to sleep here, but then she points at something moving. Now pay attention here. Alistair steps out to look, feeling heavy footsteps that make the entire frozen ground tremble beneath him. He expects a massive frost giant. Instead, it's a muscular man in a loincloth sprinting toward them. The man screams for them to run. A pack of shadow wolves is right on his heels. Now Alistair is livid. This lunatic led the predators straight to them. The race begins as the buff stranger runs for his life while Alistair floors it. He tries to shout a question, but the man cuts him off, wheezing that he can't talk while sprinting. What shocks Alistair most? This guy is actually keeping pace with a magical turbo engine. Both he and Lyra scream, asking why he brought the wolves to them. The man yells he just wanted to say hi in this lonely place. That doesn't help. Lyra screams for him to go away and get eaten alone. Then Alistair spots a cabin in the blizzard. He charges through the gate and rushes into the safety of the hut. The strange man begs them to wait, but seeing the wolves closing in, Alistair doesn't dare hesitate. You and I saw that coming. If he lets him in, they're all dead. So he slams the heavy door, leaving the stranger outside while thinking he just gave the man a chance to earn some survival marks. But the warrior roars back that he won't die that easily. Then this madman clears the wall in a single 30-meter jump. Lyra is left speechless. He lands right in front of Alistair and smirks, telling him not to be shocked because no wall can stop a real man. Alistair can't lie, that speech actually gets to him. The half-naked guy walks up, ready to introduce himself, but Alistair says there's no need. He ignores him and proudly shouts that he is Valerius, descendant of kings, and a champion of the great house. With no other choice, Alistair offers a hand. Valerius accepts, but Lyra already recognizes this legendary figure. She turns into a total fangirl, blurting out that he is the mythical hero known as the Dragonbane. If this lunatic really slayed a dragon, his power must be off the charts. Lyra confirms his title. The warrior acts humble, saying the legends are a bit exaggerated. You and I just witnessed a legendary meeting. Now, let's follow them inside and see what happens next. All right, stick with me as we see Hadrian questioning this mysterious cabin. Sigurd just laughs, saying wolves outside are a much dumber choice. Makes sense. After a wild sprint, Hadrian checks his map and realizes they are finally closing in on the goal. Maybe a quick break is actually a good move. They head inside and get cozy right by the warm fireplace. Sigurd wonders about their mission. Hadrian explains he is just a courier delivering something to a land far, far away. Sigurd is confused since he has never seen a courier in Helheim. Hadrian fires back, asking why the dragon slayer did not just kill the wolves. Lucio agrees it would have been easier to just wipe them out. But Sigurd reminds them they are in Helheim now. Hadrian looks around, thinking this underworld castle seems surprisingly normal. Suddenly, Sigurd stops as a maid named Ganglot appears. She does not even wait for them to speak. She already knows everything. Travelers carrying a letter from Freya, looking for an official escort to visit the great Queen Hel. Ganglot shuts him down, saying it is already handled. As they walk, Hadrian asks Lucio if she is some goddess or legendary knight. Lucio says neither. She has served the goddess for a very long time. Lucio tries to suck up and ask for advice, but the maid stays silent. It is starting to get under Lucio's skin. Little does she know, Ganglot is internally screaming because she thinks she is absolutely adorable. They reach the massive throne doors. Sigurd bows out here, leaving the rest to them. He reminds Hagen to make sure that letter reaches the right hands. Now, you and I need to watch this part closely. The pressure behind that door is unlike any god they have met. This is the true ruler of the dead. Hel giggles as they enter, sensing Hadrian's strange aura, neither living nor truly deceased. She calls him the little troublemaker, causing chaos throughout her kingdom. Hagen tries to play it cool, saying he is just here for a delivery. Suddenly, the letter is snatched away by a tiny lowly. He expected a terrifying monster, not a little girl ruling the entire land of the dead. She asks if the message is true, but Hagen admits he has zero clue. He was just paid to bring it. When he gets a bit too curious, Lucio warns him that you do not talk to a goddess like that. Hel leans back, liking his bravery since most people just shake in fear. She decides to give him an answer. Valhalla is being invaded by enemies pretending to be her soldiers. She never gave those orders, meaning a shadow master is at work. Only one race across all the myths could actually stand up and fight against destiny itself. She repeats a riddle about the land splitting and blue flames rising. She knows exactly who is behind it. I know what you are thinking, the big bad is just a kid. Yeah, Hagen feels the same disappointment. Later, Hel asks if the group has finally left. Ganglot confirms she sent them through a portal straight toward Mount Olympus. Hel whispers that Freya's sense of humor is honestly pretty twisted. But Ganglot disagrees. This courier is something else entirely. He is the divine courier, known for taking points as his only payment. Hel starts to see the pattern. Thanks to him, she confirmed those ancient creatures are real. She tells Ganglot to pack up because they are leaving too. Hel is joining the fight herself. Back at the forge, Hephaestus is shocked, asking Hadrian if he heard correctly. Hadrian insists he heard correctly. Lucio was right there to back him up. Freya brings up the prophecy of the 7 sections of land once again. Admitting she never believed it would come true, Hadrian wonders why everyone is so panicked. He remembers Hercules having the exact same reaction. Freya tells the smith she will be back for her item later since this is urgent. She honestly wishes she never heard the news, but now she has to warn the others. She cannot believe things spiraled this far without a single soul noticing. Someone has been hiding the truth in the shadows. Suddenly, Hagen grabs her shoulder. He gives her a blank stare and asks if she is forgetting something. Lucio panics at his sheer audacity. Hagen is not letting her go without getting paid. Freya's smile vanishes. She glares, calling him insolent for touching a goddess. The air turns heavy as Hagen starts shaking from the pure divine pressure. He refuses to leave empty-handed, chanting for his gold or a full-scale revolt. Lucio claims that this specific pose raises your total chance of payment by 99%. And that's where we leave it. Freya sighs. She truly did forget. All right, you and I are about to watch our hero rake in 500,000 crowns plus a bonus, hitting 1 million total. He is basically a nobleman now. But right then, Lucy double kicks him in the back, calling him a greedy lunatic. Lady Alara just laughs, saying they are a total mess. and she apologizes for losing her temper earlier. Master Barnaby only sighs, telling Alastair he cannot decide if he is foolish or just plain blind to the world. The dwarf shrugs it off. Then Alastair asks about the legend of the 7 realms, since everyone seems terrified of it. Even Lord Roland was scared. Alastair is stunned. He has already spoken with that legendary knight. After hearing the whole story, the dwarf yells that he should have mentioned this sooner. Alastair says nobody ever asked him. Besides, he does not even know how to reach the secret place everyone keeps whispering about. Master Barnaby thinks it over and says that explains the calling of the High Council of the Sovereigns. The last meeting was 389 years ago. Now it is clear why he was summoned once more. Alastair wants details, but the dwarf cuts him off, warning that knowing this much is already far too dangerous. Still curious, Alastair admits he does not get why everyone is hiding the truth so deeply. Pay attention here, because Barnaby says only gods can handle this, and Alastair should stop digging if he wants to live. The old smith thinks it would have been better if our knight knew absolutely nothing at all. Later on, back in the capital, Lucy tells Alastair to unlock the manor doors so she can finally rest. He breaks the magic seal, and they finally step inside. The estate they saved for is officially theirs. Looking around, Alastair thinks it finally feels like home now that the previous lord's belongings are gone. Lucy immediately claims a bedroom, but Alastair takes the grandest chamber. She demands they settle it with a fair duel. Instead, Alastair grabs her arm, says no way, and heads for the marketplace to buy new furniture. Just then, a knock. He pauses, confused. Who could possibly know their new address so quickly? He reaches for the handle and opens the door to find Lady Adrian standing there with a large cake. Alastair is confused, but Lucy remembers her from the ruins. Then it clicks. She is moving in next door. Adrian offers the massive cake to the divine messenger. Alastair takes it and asks what this is about. I know what you're thinking, a party. Well, she says it's a welcome gift for her new neighbor. But our guy turns her down instantly, saying now is not a good time. The poor girl looks completely heartbroken. Meanwhile, a starving Lucy asks if they should eat the cake. She snatches it and runs off, stuffing her face. She blames him for not feeding her, but the second she tastes it, she starts gagging and feels sick. Alastair asks what is wrong. Lucy says it tastes like chocolate mixed with swamp water and herbs. He tells her that is what happens when you steal food. Adrian just takes a bite and says she likes it. She is totally relaxed in his home, while our hero is still wondering what her real motive is. He finally asks, and she explains that the Knights' Union is currently investigating a serious matter. Grandmaster Cedric sent her to find him. He realizes they want to hire him as a special scout. He asks about the reward, but she says only the Grandmaster knows. Alastair just wants to know the pay range. She holds up 2 fingers, 2 million. No, then she lifts 2 more, 4 million gold sovereigns. His entire expression flips. Fine, take me to your leader. Soon they are heading to the royal stables. Sitting in the carriage, he thanks her, but Lucy starts complaining. They were supposed to go shopping, not working. Alastair says he is only listening to the offer. He promises to shop later, but she will not stop whining. Lucy wanted furniture and a feast first. That is, until Adrian hands her a golden ticket. She says Lucy can use it at the Union Tavern for all the food she wants. Lucy cheers up instantly. Alastair looks back at the massive guild hall. No wonder they are the strongest order in the kingdom. Later, Cedric greets him with a wide smile. He apologizes for no gift, but Alastair tells him to be brief. He does not want to waste any time, especially with his partner already itching to leave the premises. Cedric tells him to sit. As usual, Alastair is annoyed by the friendliness. Then the Grandmaster reveals the real issue. The documents are about reevaluating the danger level of the cursed ruins scattered across the realm. And that is where we leave it. Trust me, you and I are about to see these ruins get way more lethal. All right, you and I are about to see what happens when hunters flee and dungeons begin to overflow into our world. Hagen knows the risks. But there is no way he can solve a kingdom-level crisis like this alone. He flips the page and immediately calls them insane. They want him to scout the Crimson Drake, the deadliest beast in the entire realm. Not even the elite High Knights could bring that monster down. Hagen yells that if the guild is so powerful, they shouldn't need a courier. Silas promises full support. The guild will clear the path, but they desperately need eyes on the Saurian king, another legendary boss. Shaking with rage, Hagen accuses Silas of paying 4 billion gold just to buy his grave, but that's only the start. Completing the mission adds another 4 billion to the pile. Hagen stops cold. They're doubling the coin. Just like that, the deal is sealed with a handshake. Meanwhile, an archmage waits by the lake for a rider. The elder notes his lateness. The man with the amber hair says he was delayed by trouble on the road. He drops a corrupted crawler, warning that these pests shouldn't be found this far into the northern territories. Examining the creature, the elder realizes the plague is spreading much faster than his worst fears predicted. He knew the end times were coming, but the prophecy is moving at a terrifying speed now. Odin sent the rider to the underworld because a dark force is restless in Valhalla. The elder tells him to relax. Lady Freya sent a champion to handle it. The rider asks if it was a famous hero, but it was just a commoner. That news burns his pride. Who is this random peasant interfering with his sacred duty? Is he another puppet of the gods? Back with Hagen, the man is grinning because gold truly solves everything. They arrive at the Greystone Gate. Hagen vowed he would never return here, yet the gold pulled him back. Lucio asks if he's a veteran here. He says no, but he once survived a month in a much darker pit. She's stunned, noting that no ordinary man could live through a place more dangerous than this swamp. He tells her she has no idea what his life was like, but she's about to see it. Then he reveals his new mount. Each upgrade makes this beast of a machine larger. It's forged from mithril for a true champion of the gods. This custom build is designed to absorb 90% of all incoming damage for the rider. Hephaestus added a divine touch, and the result is truly breathtaking. The old mount was fine, but he can't risk being paralyzed again. Now watch this, because he is finally ready to face his fears. It is time to hunt the Saurian. He blasts through the marsh, the new wheels cutting through the muck effortlessly. Poor Lucio ends up covered in mud. Suddenly, he slams on the brakes, catching them both off guard. In the heart of the dungeon stands a massive, wealthy city that looks completely out of place. The record said the Saurians lived past this gate, but something is wrong. Suddenly, a pack of reptile warriors appears. He curses his luck, realizing he just summoned trouble by opening his big mouth. But the guard finds nothing at the gate. Hagen is holding his breath, hiding with Lucio tucked away. Lucio whispers about the monsters, but he tells her to stay quiet and focus on the task. She asks if he'll just smash his way through, but Hagen knows this isn't a slaughter mission. He is here for secrets, not a suicide run. Find the king, get the intel, and escape in one piece. That's the plan, anyway. Fortunately, the patrol moves on without ever spotting their position. These beasts are clever, but their senses are duller than he feared. He feels safe enough to buy an escape tool from the store. And now, you won't believe the new notification that pops up on his screen. He's baffled. An alert warns that high-level threats are closing in on him right now. He forgot to silence his device at the worst moment. He starts sprinting, trying to make sense of the chaos. Lucio asks what's wrong, and he says she's about to find out. A massive Saurian lunges forward with a spear. The monster stops mid-strike, because the delivery request came directly from the Saurian king himself. Even the beast is confused. Both the monster and Lucio have no idea what's happening. Hagen finds it strange delivering to a beast, but gold is gold. He tells the lizard he's in a hurry to see the boss. The trembling lizards point behind him instead. Stick with me. We're about to find out exactly what kind of nightmare was lurking in the massive, dark shadow. All right, you and I are about to see a knight meet a king who's seen better days. Hagen spots the crown, but this beast isn't the monster he expected. The monarch hisses and flicks its tongue, but the dragon tongue is total gibberish to our hero. Thankfully, Lucia steps up as a free translator. If money can't fix a problem, a silver-tongued guide usually can. He asks if she truly understands the beast. She nods. The dialect of the scaled folk is surprisingly basic. As the king hisses, Lucia translates a grim history. Ages ago, a disaster tore through this realm when a brutal invader laid waste to their kingdom. Hatchlings, elders, and warriors were slaughtered without mercy. Their entire civilization was left in smoldering ruins. Hagen sees exactly where this is headed. They want him to slay that invader, and he can tell just how desperate they are. He arrived as a hunter, but now these creatures look absolutely pathetic, staring at him with big, pleading eyes. Help me. Hagen wonders why these beasts look so adorable. He claims he is no legendary knight, but Lucia translates the offer. Save the realm and win a treasure found nowhere else. Just like that, Hagen is ready to sign up. His greed is piqued. Lucia explains the king wants to lead them to the vaults below to show off the prize. Seeing the king kneeling before him, our hero stops asking questions and vows to strike down the invader. Deep in the palace cellars, it turns out these lizards are incredibly wealthy, but wait for it. The thief is back. Now pay attention, because this sneaky bandit is already grinning at the massive pile of loot. Evelyn can't decide between the crown jewels or emptying the whole room. She has 10 seconds before Hagen walks in. Hagen and Lucia stop right at the threshold. He can sense that behind a door this massive, something legendary awaits. The king uses his final strength to heave the doors open. A blinding golden light floods the corridor as the vault swings wide. Hagen stands frozen, mouth agape. He half expects the room to be empty, but he was wrong. The room is overflowing with gold, and the thief is lurking right there. This hoard looks like a royal duchy's treasury. Lucia explains this loot was taken from failed human invaders. The king beams with pride, but Hagen remains unimpressed. He's about to speak when he spots something odd. A person standing there with coins piled high on their arms. The coins clatter to the stone floor as she gives him a casual wave. Hey there, little knight, what's up? You and I both saw that coming, right? The cute vibes vanish instantly as the lizards erupt in fury, screaming to catch the bandit. The clumsy thief is pinned down in seconds. Hagen just wants to know how she managed to break in again. Evelyn is just as baffled. She had a contract to rob this vault, yet this knight keeps ruining her payday. She asks if he remembers her, claiming they both work for the Merchant Guild. She begs him to explain their connection to the lizards. Lucia quickly translates. The king wants to know if Hagen is actually an accomplice to this crime. Terrified of losing his reward, Hagen nearly panics. He swears he attended an all-male academy and has never seen this woman. Knowing she's costing him gold, he stomps over and tells her to stop playing these ridiculous games. I don't work for that guild, you idiot. She's stunned. If he's been doing their dirty work, why is he clueless? Evelyn whispers that if he helps her escape, she will do whatever he desires as payment. He's already calculating how to turn her favor into cold, hard cash. Lucia warns him that trusting a common thief is a death sentence. After a tense pause, he agrees. With a wicked grin, he tells her he will name his own price. But she must swear by the river Styx. She panics, claiming an oath on those dark waters is pure insanity. He tells her if she refuses, he will let the lizard slit her throat and leave her to rot. Seeing the cold steel at her neck, she finally swears on the river Styx. If he gets Evelyn out safely, she will be at his beck and call. He nods and has Lucia explain the situation. Soon, the thief is freed, looking relieved she avoided the executioner. She starts to thank him, but he cuts her off. I am not your junior, and you had better be ready to pay up. Naturally, her mind goes straight to the gutter, imagining a very personal favor. But our hero has much bigger plans. Suddenly, a magical system window flickers to life, presenting him with a brand new emergency mission. Defeat the Crimson Invader and save the realm. Time limit, 3 hours. Reward the royal treasure. Hagen is absolutely stunned. 3 hours is a suicide mission. Last time he had 50, and even that was close. He tells Lucia they must move immediately. There is no time to waste. He sprints off while the thief screams for them to wait up. Standing with the king, she grumbles about how rude the knight is for leaving her behind. Oddly, the king is still watching her. Hagen is already racing his iron steed toward the front. It's 30 kilometers away. Trust me, the real fight is just beginning. Trust me, you and I are about to see if Arthur can survive this. Reaching the goal is hard, but winning. Lucian says slow down, but Arthur refuses. Then Lady Isabella suddenly blocks his path, claiming he looks like he's in serious trouble. He nearly jumps, slams the brakes of his iron steed, and skids to a halt beside her. Already annoyed, he asks why she followed him against his orders. The rogue just winks, saying she couldn't leave him to struggle alone after he saved her life. He tells her to stay back, insisting he's still going to collect that favor later. She smirks, saying he won't be in a rush once he knows her secret. She's found the monster he seeks, the scarlet worm. That reminds him of the warning. This beast is a nightmare, and he was only meant to gather intel. He realized the truth. He wonders if Lord Selwyn knew the worm and the crown were linked when he sent him to investigate both. Looking at Isabella, it is obvious she does not want to risk her life fighting something like that. But she still needs him to trust her if she wants a share of the dragon's hoard. She offers to guide him through the fastest path. Arthur snaps back, "I thought thievery was your only useful skill." "How can you help?" She just smirks, warning him never to underestimate a woman he barely even knows. She will find the beast but won't fight it. A master thief, she claims, always has a few secret tricks to escape certain death. Soon, he's racing through the crimson woods, with the lady holding on tight to the back of his mechanical mount. They spot a massive red lizard, and she points it out. That's the legendary scarlet worm. Now pay attention, because this is where the real nightmare begins. It is a true monster. Lucian asks if they can win. Arthur just grins and locks his helm. He launches himself at the beast with a massive leap, ready to deliver a crushing blow. A level 7 threat. Arthur slams his fist straight into the creature's thick skull. It looked like a move that should end it all. But no, the beast roars back to life, and our hero just grins. All right, time to break this monster. He lands another heavy strike from high in the air, sending a massive shockwave that shatters the earth below. From the ground, Isabella watches in total shock. How is he even doing this? She was chosen by the god of thieves and faced horrors most knights couldn't imagine, but this scene made no sense at all to her. He is throwing strikes like a master knight. The scarlet worm stumbles and crashes to the ground. He is moving like a true legend, and she knows the Knights Guild has officially ranked this terrifying beast as a high-level 7 threat now. She knows he is blessed by the god Mercury, too, but even that alone cannot explain this insane raw power he is showing us now. Most elite knights have 15 years of training and the favor of very mighty gods. But Arthur got his powers mere months ago, so how is he outclassing battle veterans who have trained for decades? And by how the worm is flailing, she can tell something is wrong. Then she sees it. The beast is hunting for him, but he's above it, hidden by his enchanted helm and striking from the shadows. She finally realizes he is using a hidden cannon. The beast roars and swings a massive, crushing blow at him. The hit smashes the earth, but fails. Arthur, still airborne, says the monster is swinging blindly because it has completely lost him now. Let's pause. You and I both know monsters only exist for one thing, to drop loot and get crushed. The earth erupts. Soon, there is barely anything left of the poor creature. Actually, it took a very, very long time. Arthur admits he's lost count of the punches thrown, yet the giant lizard is somehow still breathing and alive. This fight isn't easy. Worse, the magic in his armor is starting to fade away. His helm still hides him, but without the boost, his hits won't hurt. Time for one last all-or-nothing gamble. He summons his full power to end this. He leaps at the dragon and screams for it to die right now. The beast senses the threat. It looked like a direct hit, but the bastard actually managed to dodge. The question is how. It still can't see him. Then he understands. His swing's massive force ruined the helm's concealment, and now the worm strikes back with a crushing attack. It looks like a clean hit, and Isabella is horrified. Everything was going fine, so why on earth did he take that hit? Lucien calls her a foolish mortal, warning that interfering now would only slow the hero down. She stays back as Lucien wonders about this hidden nymph. Still, he trusts Arthur completely. He has survived one deadly mess after another before. He always finds an exit. That is why the gods believe in him. Arthur won't lose here. Isabella snorts, but that kid just ate a direct hit. You and I both know nobody survives that. All right, you and I are about to watch Kaelin pull off the craziest stunt while hanging onto this massive, scaly boss beast. Seraphina is baffled as Alistair cheers. Kaelin's enchanted gear only has 57 seconds of power left. Scaling the beast, he spots a glowing star-shaped crystal pulsing right under its throat. Alistair shouts that it's the reverse scale. Realizing it's a weak point, Kaelin quickly opens his shop menu. He needs absolute power to end this. He asks Alistair if this beast is a true dragon. She isn't sure, but that scale suggests it's a legendary wyvern. In that moment, he buys a new weapon. If it's draconic, that's enough for him. His points plummet from 1.3 million down to 1 million. The sword cost a king's ransom. Kaelin brandishes Sigurd's blade, Dragon Bane, while still clinging to the monster's chest like a total madman. Seraphina can't believe he just summoned that legendary blade. But Kaelin only has one goal in mind. Now pay attention, because he's aiming for the weak spot, just as the monster's eyes ignite with terrifying hellfire. This looks bad. Fire suddenly erupts from every scale, and the massive explosion sends poor Kaelin flying through the air. He wonders if this is the final phase as he slams hard into the dirt. Everything's going wrong. The heat is too much to reach the scale. Alistair warns him while Seraphina runs over, screaming for him to escape. Phase 2 is a death sentence. She offers to fight together, but Kaelin tells her to stay back. He says her presence is too obvious. She just smirks, already reaching for a secret weapon in her belt. She tells him to watch and learn before throwing a vial of Demeter's tear, a legendary ice potion from the Earth goddess. The potion hits, and instantly, the massive Drake King is entombed in a mountain of jagged ice. With the beast frozen solid, she tells him to strike now. He asks why she waited so long, and she simply admits she was waiting for the second phase to begin. She did it for the drama, and they start arguing right in front of the monster. Alistair tells them to shut up and move. Suddenly, the ice cracks and the creature roars back to life. And yeah, I know what you're thinking. How did it break free that fast? Especially since Kaelin only has 20 seconds left on his enchanted suit. Seraphina shouts that she has one last trick to create an opening for his final strike. She tosses another tear, a plant-based version this time, but the monster's heat melts it instantly. With time running out, Kaelin lunges forward. He leaps at the scale and swings, unleashing a massive purple shockwave of energy. The blade cleaves right through the beast's neck. He didn't just break the scale, he completely decapitated the legendary red drake. Back at House Sterling, Cedric reports the investigation into the ruins is finished. The Grandmaster tells him to rest, but Cedric asks about a rumor he heard. Is it true they received a time bomb? Did the Hunters' Council really dump such a dangerous threat into their hands? The leader confirms it's the Serpent's lair. Then he drops the bombshell that Kaelin already cleared the entire place by himself 2 days ago. He thought Kaelin was just scouting, but the report says the kid actually went and slaughtered the great red drake. It wasn't even the mission. The Grandmaster sent a team to verify, and the beast is truly dead. He never expected Kaelin to be this insane. Now, he has no idea how to explain this to the council. The city is safe now, but this creates a massive political mess. Kaelin's contract keeps him anonymous, but someone has to take credit for killing an S-tier beast, and that person is going to attract a lot of eyes from the nobles. Cedric is hyped, calling the simple delivery boy a monster in human skin. At this rate, He could outmatch the kingdom's top knights. The leader considers promoting him to A rank, but Cedric quickly tells him to keep it quiet. No need to draw any more eyes. The Grandmaster wonders what happened to the king's lost records. Meanwhile, we're heading right back to the royal castle. Yoshi rushes in with tears of joy, ready to praise their savior. Alistair says they are thanking him for the rescue, and Kaelin tells her he can see that for himself. He takes the king's hand and says he just did what was right. He tells them not to bow, but the king has no idea what Kaelin actually wants. The king looks nervous before presenting a massive, ornate treasure chest. Both of them stare at the chest in absolute awe. Inside is just a tiny, plain bag. The king smiles, but Kaelin looks ready to lose it. He nearly died for a small sack until Alistair stops him. She explains this is a legendary artifact. It's an infinite inventory bag, and trust me, you and I both know how much he'll need that tomorrow. All right, you and I are diving into a final farewell at the border before Lord Arthur calls with news. The White Gate has vanished completely. It was likely just an escape route for the scaled beasts fleeing the Crimson Wyvern. With the kingdom finally safe, the gateway wasn't needed anymore. It simply sealed itself shut as peace returned to the land. This makes our hero realize there might be a way to close portals without a bloodbath. Maybe peace between humans and beasts is possible, or maybe that's just a fool's dream. As he ponders, Lady Alina offers her congratulations, mentioning that the loot he secured should prove incredibly useful in the days ahead. He nods, asking if she feels slighted after burning through those rare potions without getting any treasure in return. She claims she never leaves empty-handed, but then he catches her trying to hide something mysterious beneath her sleeve. Total thief. When he demands to know where she swiped it from, she just keeps her mouth shut. She simply wanders off, teasing that she had fun and got exactly what she came for, thanks to him. She vanishes into thin air. Once a thief, always a thief, right? But that's a problem for another day. It's time to return home, but when Lyra asks if they're departing, he tells her they've still got business. Now pay attention. Here's where he collects his massive 8 billion gold bounty. Baron Thorn promises to study the wyvern's corpse and send him a cut of the profits. He totally forgot how much these beasts are worth on the market. He's been a simple delivery boy for so long that he forgot dungeon looting is where the real money is. From now on, no monster gets left behind. Lyra wonders why he's so hyped, but then the smell of roast chicken hits her. She claimed she wasn't hungry earlier, but now she's starving. He offers a drink, but she dives straight in and burns her tongue like a maniac. He seriously wonders if she starved to death in a past life. Polishing off yesterday's leftovers, he muses that high-quality chicken still tastes absolutely legendary even a day later. Remember, he used to survive on cheap tavern scraps that gave him horrible heartburn. Now, he can drop 30 gold on a feast without blinking an eye. Money definitely buys happiness. Lyra even jokes she might leave him a bone if he's lucky. Suddenly, a new urgent delivery request pings his device. The second Lyra sees it, she starts shoveling chicken into her mouth at light speed. She knows another nightmare journey is ahead, but our hero isn't rushing. A good breakfast always comes before the grind. With 10 billion gold saved, he can finally relax. But let's pivot, because the Southern Kingdom is currently in total chaos. The capital is burning, and bodies litter the streets. A lone soldier screams that they have to hold the line at all costs. They charge into the smoke toward a beast with glowing golden eyes. Meanwhile, a scout reports to the king that despite everyone's best efforts, they're nowhere near strong enough to halt this monster's advance. The king asks about the hero, but the report is absolutely devastating. The messenger says he's 3 days away. The king knows that's far too late. The entire palace will be reduced to ash by then. Suddenly, the very foundations of the castle begin to shudder. A massive explosion shatters the wall, and a terrifying minotaur looms over the trembling king. He cries out to the sovereigns, asking if they've finally abandoned his people. Back at Master Valerius' forge, our lead wonders where the owner is. Lyra thinks they arrived late, but he blames her for insisting on air-frying chicken before they left. That's when he notices his device has been ringing off the hook. This might actually be a life-or-death situation. Lyra glances over her shoulder just as Master Valerius stomps up looking absolutely furious. So, the old man finally showed up. The boy tenses up, awkwardly asking if there's a package to deliver. The protagonist warns him this is critical and the task won't be easy. They head inside to talk. Once seated, the forge master admits they're in deep trouble and he doesn't even know where to start the story. Our hero tells him to start anywhere. He'll try to keep up, but honestly, he's more on edge than ever before. He never hesitates, so this must be insane. Then Valerius mentions his secret meeting with Queen Genevieve. The boy recalls the old legend about the 7 great realms being torn apart by the gods. The dwarf hoped the high sovereigns could fix this, but things have spiraled out of control. The invaders have already reached sanctuaries that even the gods are forbidden from entering. At the High Council, they learn the truth. These monsters aren't just hitting the divine realms, they've crossed into the human world, too. This disaster isn't just a problem for the powerful elite anymore. The infections spread to the mortal lands and even into the depths of the underworld. Here is the catch. Divine laws prevent the gods from interfering in human affairs. The only saving grace is that the monsters can't move around completely freely yet. Right now, they're just planting seeds and waiting for the fallout. That's when our hero has to stop him right there. He admits he's completely lost. What seeds? Which gods? What on earth is he even talking about right now? His friend asks if he's serious, but as the boy answers, the audio suddenly cuts into static. He asks for a repeat, but Lyra says she didn't hear a single word either, just a weird white noise. Master Valerius realizes the divine laws won't allow him to speak the truth directly to the boy. Ancient gods sealed this horror away, and trust me, its very name is forbidden from being spoken aloud. Stick with me. Today's task is tied to something bigger, and the lad will learn the truth in time. He explains they were expecting a tribute from Creston Isle, but the shipment is currently long overdue. He is fortunate his father is busy with the High Council. If the sea sovereign found out, his fury would be boundless. The boy needs to uncover the truth before that happens. The pay will be legendary. Our main character sums it up. A shipment was due, it never arrived, and they need to hide it from the sea sovereign. If that is all, why is there such a panic? Lucy says any other king would be fine, but King Alaric cannot stand a single moment of lateness. He once plunged his realm into chaos by defying the sovereign and refusing to sacrifice a sacred white stallion. That defiance birthed the Endless Maze, a cursed place housing the terrifying horned beast. He fails to see the link between lateness and monsters, but figures he will learn soon as he sets off. His water-walking spell starts fading, forcing him onto a tiny rock to avoid drowning. Lucy warns him to be careful, but the boy had no idea it was this far. He checks the shop for a boat to cross the channel, but the prices are absolutely insane. Tristan's ship costs 30 million, the Silver Fleet 50 million, and the Great Ark 100 million. No way. Lucy asks for the next move, and he decides to scout around. Maybe something useful is nearby. He pulls out his bottomless bag, explaining this is why he brought it. He packed it with all sorts of treasures, just not a boat, unfortunately. Instead, he pulls out some binoculars to scout the horizon. He spots a distant temple with smoke rising from the altar. It looks like a perfect waypoint toward Creston Isle. Suddenly, a soldier appears demanding their names. A whole squad surrounds them, asking why they have trespassed on these sacred lands. The lad tells them to calm down. He just needs a vessel to reach Creston Isle. One soldier loses his temper, asking if the boy knows where he is. But a captain stops him, saying he would like to hear the lad's story first. Now watch closely, because our main character realizes this man is actually Sir Tristan, another living legend. This time the boy recognizes the name, and Lucy quickly adds that Sir Tristan is the legendary hero who conquered the horned beast. He was the only soul to escape the maze, became king of Avalon, and shared many quests with the gods. Tristan says that unique outfit gives him away. He must be the divine courier from the rumors. Seeing the boy's reaction, he knows he is right. Not many people dress like that. He heard of him from Lord Jason of the Silver Fleet Company. The boy remembers that captain hired him for the sirens. Still baffled by this hero talk, he asks about the rumors. Tristan says everyone knows his name. He invaded the sirens' nest, killed the Hydra, healed the Master Centaur's leg, and even delivered a package to the frozen underworld. He is building quite a legendary reputation across the divine kingdoms, and Lucy nervously asks exactly what people are saying about her. Tristan says he heard the divine courier has some kind of small assistant. That absolutely crushes her. While she sulks, Tristan hands over a parchment to help reach Creston Isle. The boy sees exactly what it is. Now here's a twist. The map says the threat is back. Didn't you and I think Tristan killed that beast? He explains he never truly killed it. He only sealed it inside the maze. The problem is he has no clue how the seal broke. So, tomorrow at dawn, he is going to Creston to finish it. Then he asks if the divine courier wants to tag along. The boy hesitates since he was not looking for a fight, but finally agrees. Plans never survive the morning. Meanwhile, the king is trapped in the beast's grip, and one thing is terrifyingly clear. The monster is enraged. The next morning, the boy tries waking Lucy, who begs for 5 more minutes. He tells her to get up immediately because the boat is leaving, and they do not have time to mess around. Lucy begs him to stop being so mean. He looks outside, hoping Tristan found enough brave warriors to help. The day before, Tristan told him to rest well while he went out to recruit as many allies as he could find. That was when the boy asked how he beat the beast before. Tristan said Lady Alina of Creston helped him. The horned beast was a monstrous curse that brought ruin to King Alaric and his whole family as punishment for defying a god. The strange part is that the creature was supposed to be locked in the maze forever. So, how did it return strong enough to destroy Creston again? Tristan says that is the mystery he must solve. They must move fast before all is lost, and this time he will end it. Our hero asks why they are waiting for allies. Sir Tristan mentions a warning from Lord Gawain, but never explains it. Now you and I are left wondering. Let's dive in. Arthur's starting to think this is tied to what the master blacksmith warned him about. Slaying monsters was stressful enough on its own. But a sinking feeling told him he was being dragged into a game far above his level. Alara claims she is fully ready for the adventure, but Arthur can tell she has no idea how lethal this quest really is. Down at the docks, knights load massive crates while our hero calls for Commander Tristan. The commander laughs, saying he almost had to drag Arthur out of bed since Alara keeps complaining that he is a lazy sleeper. Tristan tells them to board quickly. They can meet the rest of the scouting party once they are at sea. Arthur is floored by the scale of the galleon. It looks like a floating fortress, and Tristan admits there is a reason for that. It was once the flagship of a legendary king. Arthur hears a strange voice, but Alara swears it was not her speaking. He's baffled because that high-pitched, annoying remark sounded exactly like something a forest fairy would say to him. Now watch this. Arthur turns around and sees a male fairy who looks exactly like a tiny version of Alara. The little guy is clearly related to her, and she recognizes him instantly. She calls him Leo and says it has been ages. Alara is happy to see him, never expecting to find him serving Tristan on such a dangerous voyage. But Leo shoves her away, telling her to keep her distance. They are definitely not on friendly terms. This is only the second male fairy Arthur has ever encountered, and he finally realizes Alara was not lying about being tall. Suddenly, the commander demands to know why Leo is still standing around doing nothing. Tristan tells him to show the guests to their quarters. Arthur apologizes, saying his own fairy companion is just as difficult to handle. He admits he has a handful with Alara, too. Tristan just shrugs and tells everyone to prepare for immediate departure. Arthur asks Leo to lead the way, But the poor fairy is still dazed after Alara roasted him and slapped him silly. Once inside the ship, they find their room is actually quite impressive. Leo thanks Arthur for not reporting their little scuffle to the commander. Arthur just smiles and says any friend of Alara's is his friend. Predictably, the two fairies start bickering again. Leo just sighs in defeat and walks away looking completely drained by the encounter. Arthur finds it strange and asks if Tristan is a cruel master. Alara explains that fairies are usually treated like low-level servants. It is not that Tristan is mean, it's just that Arthur treats her with actual respect. Arthur realizes that in this world, service is just the law. For a guy from modern Earth, it feels totally wrong. As the ship cuts through the waves, Tristan stares at the horizon, whispering that he never thought he would return to the vaults. Now, you and I are about to see the horror firsthand. They reach the capital, but it's just a graveyard of ruins. Even worse, the bodies left behind show signs of a truly gruesome end. Tristan is certain this is the behemoth's work, and they must immediately search for anyone left alive. Leo points ahead, noting that at least one grand structure is still standing. It is the Great Cathedral. Since the gods supposedly sent this beast as a trial, the monster likely avoided the sacred ground. They rush toward the holy site, but a fresh trail of blood leads directly to the heavy doors. Tristan kicks the doors open expecting the beast, but finds a crowd of terrified citizens huddled in the shadows. The survivors cry out when they see Tristan, and he is visibly relieved that some managed to survive the massacre. The refugees are quickly moved to the safety of the boats. Arthur feels a weight lift, knowing not everyone was killed. Suddenly, an old man approaches with grim news. The behemoth has taken King Alaric as its prisoner in the dark. And trust me, you and I are about to find out just how deep these forbidden vaults go. Every second they waste, the king gets closer to death. Harder it gets,